All right. To all of you online, welcome. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Norfolk County Advisory Board Finance Committee. And
we're pretty much at the end.
All right.
We had our Christmas package. Nice. It was amazing. Joe's been talking about recipes. He's having it.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're calling this meeting to order. This is executive session. Yeah. We just have to read the disclaimer about why we're having a hybrid meeting. I didn't shoot it. Now I'm trying to get off. Oh, is this better?
That's for the next meeting.
I have good ones. All right. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for your patience. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20. That order was effective immediately until it is rescinded or the state of emergency is terminated. July 17, 2022, by the action of the legislature, the order was extended until March 31st, 2023, and that is what allows us to have this hybrid meeting this evening. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to call the roll. Mr. Beckerman?
Here.
Ms. Searles?
Here.
Joe Reardon?
Here.
Mr. Connors?
Here.
And Elizabeth Childs, the chair, is here. We are all here at Casper. Welcome, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining our committee, and we really look forward to your expertise and appreciate your participation and wisdom on our effort here. Thank you.
My pleasure.
The first item is an update on the FY23 financial activity. And I think that I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Cronin, the county director, to walk us through the items, and then we will discuss them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Childs. Good evening, folks. Try to be expedient to the explanation of our ask this evening. There's a PowerPoint presentation that's been made available to members requirements. Will you pull this up, please? If I can figure out how to.
Much for an answer.
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to try to pull off the presentation. While they're trying to do that, let me just briefly explain. This evening we have a county supplemental needs list.
Tune into channel 1035 on Samsung TV Plus to start watching footage today.
And also a transfer list. In addition, the agricultural schools have proposed a transfer request as well. At the end of this, we will ask the committee to consider 6 separate motions. So I will try to get through this quickly because I know you've got a brief amount of time before we adjourn for dinner prior to our meeting. you're ready.
Pretty slow computer.
Eric and Barbara, do you have the version of the presentation handy that I can start going through, or do you want us to wait until it's brought up?
No, I've got everything, so it's fine with me if you go ahead.
I'm all set too.
Okay, I will begin. So regarding the county's fiscal year 23 overview, we'll address, as I mentioned, our 23 position, fiscal year 23, our supplemental needs, transfer requests, and our capital plan amendments. I'll give you briefly some FY 23 observations looking ahead and brief insight into the American Rescue Plan Act. Slide 3, Bill. So as you can see, we left the September meeting with approximately $451,916 in surplus. This evening, we're going to ask you to deauthorize 2 previous items that have been approved, namely the Brookline Nursery Downspouts project and the school cafeteria study, which will increase our available surplus to $714,966.69. There are some areas that I have to keep an eye on, and members of this committee may recall, we forward funded our FY 24 capital needs by $1 million. That money kind of sits there as available, and if we experience any deep financial distress, I'll get into a couple of those in just a moment, but briefly they include retirement costs, utility costs, or potential snow and ice. Slide 4, Bill. So to begin, our supplemental needs include the items that are shown here. There are a total of, let's see, 2 pages of supplemental items. I'll briefly explain each one. I want to call your attention to the shaded areas on the right. Anything in green would be funded from the Registry of Deeds excise. The items in yellow are informative only. Those are covered under the school surplus transfer, which we'll cover just in a moment. Under technology, I want to call out the $150,000 ask. In the past year, we understand that the Registry of Deeds had certain technology expenses which were paid for by a technology fund controlled by the Registry of Deeds. This particular cost was not available for us to transfer in our FY 23 budget when we underwent that exercise in the spring. Back on November 24th, our budget director, Phil Lantoski, contacted the registry to find out if he'd be inclined to support any of these additional costs against the technology fund. The registry responded, quote, "I'm not amenable." So based on that, we are turning towards the Registry of Deeds excise to fund the full list of technology expenses, which we estimate to be approximately $150,000. We have that list available to any member of the finance committee, which is to see what these expenses are, but they're typical technology subscription and expenses that we would expect from an organization this size. Our new CIO, Sam Evans, who's with us tonight, you'll hear from him at the advisory board level, also provides additional network switch upgrades for both registry and non-registry needs, and active directory upgrades for registry and non-registry. Those costs are shown corresponding. Golf course is looking for some final pieces to the large capital investments we've made over the last several months. We're finishing the bench demolition, install and purchase 2 additional benches to complete the area between the entry and the golf clubhouse. This will be directly behind where the new playground is. We have to complete the grading and drainage on 15th hole, and we're also going to replace the picnic tables so that they match the new benches. Those costs are shown as such. Registry of Deeds had requested $60,000 earlier this fiscal year. He appeared before the commissioners on December 21st. After some debate, excuse me, the commissioner voted 2-1 to support $10,000 for legal services associated with the registry's request from Registry of Deeds excise funds. So note that, as I mentioned, there are several items here of note. The agricultural schools looking to get done around the campus, small dollars. This would come from their surplus. This is informative, driven in on A, you can see that that's some recent curbing, paving needs that have to be made, some temporary sidewalk, refinish and pave, exposing the parking lot next to the cafeteria here, Main Street entrance, and install a safety guardrail behind the administration building, all paid for by agricultural funds. Slide 5. The maintenance division put forward several items. Quincy District Court requires lighting. Superior District Court, Stowe District Court requires lighting, and Superior Court dedication signs and plaques for the dedication of the William W. Building, all costing $31,767. The next item is to replace the Registry of Deeds fire alarm panel, $8,745. That item is shaded in green also, as I propose to fund that for Registry of Deeds excise. I'd like to call the committee's attention to this item simply because Register O'Donnell 2 weeks ago drew some interesting attention to it. I'll leave it at that. This afternoon, he sent a letter through our CIO questioning why this item is not fully developed with him, why he doesn't understand it could not have been paid from his account. If when the Register wants to engage in a public space on this conversation, I'll remind him that on December 16th, an email was sent to him with the details of this particular request, and the time was given for public debate and input on why this item is needed. In short, the fire alarm panel had to be replaced in August of 2022. Our maintenance division completed that task. This particular request is to fund that back to the maintenance budget from Deeds excise. The Register suggested he could have paid for it from his budget. I examined his budget today against the account that paid for that. That particular account does not exist in the Registry of Deeds budget. That's 5268 in your notes. Moving on, as you can see, the Stowe District Court, new dock smokes and shutdown relay, and finally coverage for the Stowe District Court overage for $38,000. Moving down to the Commissioner's office, we desire to put up new signage at each of our 4 courthouses so they are all alike. It's a $45,000 quote. The largest single cost that this committee should have a close look at is reflected next, $194,665. If you're familiar with any personal or public budgets these days, utility costs are rising quite quickly, rapidly. As we try to chase the market costs, they're projecting a 20% increase for the remainder of fiscal year 23. We don't really know if that's going to be enough. The schools have a similar challenge, and they're projecting some increase in coverage as well. So for now, we're going to hold this just under $200,000 cost. If we need additional funds, we'll come back. But we believe that's enough to get us through on our gas, electric, utility costs. We recently completed duct cleaning of 614 High Street, and we desperately need a new color copier in the Commissioner's office as well. Rounding out on slide 6, folks. You'll see a sort of summary page here with these corrections, and if everything is supported this evening, the county is looking to spend $406,294. That's what the adjustments I mentioned earlier. Against the available surplus. That will result in the county carrying forward after this evening a surplus of $308,671.87. As I mentioned, we will likely look at the FY24 capital forward fund as a relief area if when it needed. I'll move on, if it's okay, Dr. Childs, into transfers.
Please,
The transfers are on the following page, slide 8. But I wanted to briefly mention the county has come to an agreement on 2 of its 3 contracts, engineering and maintenance. The third one, the Registry of Deeds, will be going to mediation. You can see on that slide 7, the last bullet. We're beginning mediation discussions on January 12th for the Registry of Deeds. As a result of the 2 signed MOUs, we're happy to say that both have identical cost of living allowances of 2.75% FY23, 2.5% for FY24, and 2.25 for FY25. The value of these costs, excluding the schools, will be drawn from the FY23 reserve appropriation that was funded in our FY23 budget. In addition, we've made available, I believe, through your packets this evening with handouts for any members of the committee and or the advisory board, Joe, who want to see more details about what elements in the contracts the county was able to negotiate. Overall, we're pleased with the results, and I think the commissioners were as well. So as you can see on slide 8, this is a collection of lines relevant to each department, whether it's Wollaston, the Commissioner's Office, Technology, Treasurer, Registry, non-union people, facility maintenance, engineering, and then we get into the stipends and longevity pay. The total value of all these transfers is just over $183,000. Slide 9 reflects capital budget amendments. As you know, we have several items in our FY23 budget that are funded. We're in the way of spending some of that funding, but there are some changes we'd like to make to accommodate some new initiatives. The first is we wish to deauthorize the funding for a Dedham District Court generator at $99,000. It's a project we're not going to be able to achieve in FY23. Instead, we're moving to fund the one-time expenses associated with the weights and measures program, which you'll hear about under the advisory board. It's a new regionalization program. This would fund a vehicle and beginning equipment needs. The schools are similarly looking to deauthorize skid steer, some work for electric panels at Kent Hall and McFarland, as well as scissor lift and cafe updates. The collective cost of these deauthorizations yields $8,354, which we use to offset the delta needed to procure utility pickup. Slide 10. Observations ahead. Mr. Connors is with us this evening, and some members of the committee may know the retirement board recently voted to change the method of evaluation calculation, resulting in a shift that will cost the county approximately $400,000 more per year for the next 6 years. The retirement board actuarial table will now offer more relief to some communities, but Norfolk County bears the largest impact of this change. It is somewhat short-lived in that it is only 5 to 6 years before it is paid off, but that liability will be steering us back in FY24. I intend to possibly use a portion of the paid forward amount from the FY24 capital budget, depending on how our surplus ends in FY23. To remind you, we're still in the process of wrapping up our employee handbook and internal control plan. We're going to examine possible reductions in costs for FY24 to control budget growth. We're working on that over the next week before I send out the budget memo. And very briefly, Lindsay District Court, which I do get questions from time to time from individuals for. The county began negotiations with the Commonwealth back in October, I believe. We've had several Zoom meetings with our friends from NCAB. We performed an appraisal of the property as required by law and as funded by this board. The Commonwealth came at this particular property at a completely different angle and a completely different value. I'm not at liberty this evening to discuss the value difference, but I do want to describe a little bit about the difference in the approach. Working, I should say, with Attorney Scott Lopez, our general counsel, he and I have spoken to DCAM that we're following general law that requires the county to look for highest and best use for fair market value. The Commonwealth doesn't recognize that. They are rarely in the business of buying property. As you can imagine, the Commonwealth is the largest landowner, building owner in Massachusetts. They're in the business of selling, giving property. So unfortunately, they don't have a lot of comparable sales standards to share with us about how they have interacted with previous market exchanges. So this is new ground for them. We're holding ground on our statutory obligation to seek fair market value. The Commonwealth is using a standard that is not known in the circles of professional self-appraisal. It's not to say it's not real, but you and I would probably most understand it to be the public good. They see exchange between two political bodies as necessitating the public good argument. They have repeatedly told us what they intend to use the property for. That is the Justice Center that I think has been widely discussed, and we acknowledge that. And while we sympathize with the Commonwealth's position, we keep going back to the fact that general law requires us to look at fair market value. We are, in a short expression, very far apart, but we feel compelled to follow through on this, and we await the next contact with the Commonwealth, which will likely be a cover-off. So we'll proceed, and right now with the change in administrations, things could shift, and some they normally do, but we'll keep an eye on it. And I'll look over that and get more information on that. And the last one, just a note, the Walton Recreational Facility reported favorable flows in FY '22 after income and expenses are accounted for. They had $149,407 surplus. Karen Shea wanted this to be called out. I think it's a smart move to show that the force does turn a profit. And some Republican remarks made in the last several months in some spaces that the force was a losing proposition. I believe that remark referred to one brief moment in time during COVID. And I think everything experienced a slowdown in operations. But by and large, the force is doing quite well. The improvements that the county has funded, no doubt, are drawing more people and recreational activity to it. So to a profit, I think Carl's running a nice operation out there. Very briefly, the last slide you're joining this evening is a brief update on the American Rescue Plan Act. As you know, we were funded under $37 million, awarded our first award just over a year ago. To date, we've awarded 30.51% of funds, or just under 42 million to 18 communities. I'm going to stop here and briefly brag. We are by far the most active, the most successful county so far in Massachusetts, distributing funds. We meet monthly with our friends in Bristol, Plymouth, Barnstable County. We're very active and very happy with our program. Recently, the Norfolk County Commissioners increased the eligible allotment amount for the communities up to 75%, which is freeing up more cash for them to apply for. We recognize that although in the next bullet you can see these funds have to be obligated in 2 years, that's not a long time if you're looking at large scale infrastructure projects, which is the below our most popular category. We want to give access to as much cash as possible for these communities to get going on their projects. Please note the commissioners did vote a $2,000 per person premium pay benefit to the engineering and maintenance workers via collective bargaining. The eligible non-union staff will be considered by commissioners in late January. We're following the federal rule on this particular item, which states the lowest paid people get paid first, and that's the rule, among other things. So we'll be examining the non-union staff likely in late January. And that's not to say, as I mentioned, engineering maintenance, the registry of deeds is out of play. I don't want to get into the status of their contract as we're in mediation, but you should be rest assured they're in our thoughts. Things will be moving along and I'm sure we'll be successful eventually with that. And briefly, I mentioned we're really spending most of the money on infrastructure involved by public health, economic impact, and revenue replacement. Dr. Childs, that completes my presentation to your committee. I provided you with 6 various motions to consider, but I'm also very happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, let's see if we have any questions from the committee members first, and then we'll walk through the motions because we should make a recommendation to the advisory board on each motion. Eric and Barbara online, do you have any questions for John around the presentation?
No, I'm all set.
Do we see them?
No, I'm good too. Thank you, John, for a very concise.
That's all right, as long as you can see them.
My name might
Oh, please.
provided by Dr. John Wallace. There are figures associated with the school's transfers, which I'm happy to reveal to you if you want. I think they're also part of your packet. They're also part of the motions in front of you as well. These figures are associated with collective bargaining as well as non-union costs and other contract costs. Mr. Wallace can explain.
That's good. We'll get to that. That motion, which is I think 4, right? 6. Sorry, that's 6, right? Okay. We'll get to motion 6 and then we'll get to that.
This
Yes.
is just from the other information. Can we address these questions or have them by motion? So that
We can.
I just think.
Yep. Easier. Okay. I'll feel with you. Okay. All right, Barbara and Eric, we are going to go via the questions by motion. So the first motion is the vote to approve the deauthorization of 2 items, the Brookline gutters and downspouts projects and the school cafeteria study, which were going to be funded, but not going to happen this year. And that total is $263,050. So the question is, are there any questions about that motion? And after the questions, I'll take a motion to recommend approval or we'll vote it up or down for the whole board.
I'll make the motion to approve to the board.
When is the school cafeteria study being undertaken? It's at some point in the future, we don't have an exact date. We need to line up our financing, how to continue beyond the analysis of the building, because we didn't see the benefit necessarily of analyzing the building if we weren't prepared to act on what came out of the analysis. I certainly think within the next year or two, we would intend to have that study done.
Thank you.
Good question about the Brookline gutters and downspouts too. What do we think about that?
The gutters and downspouts have been evaluated as in need of replacement, but not in, they're fine to get through a couple seasons. We had set aside this money, out to bid, and the bid was almost double that cost. It's reflective of some market changes, copper being one of them. So we're gonna sit on it, wait for the market to change, but been assured by the contractor that we're good to go for at least one more winter.
Okay, good. Good. I was just in that building, just not even a month ago, and it was looking fine. Okay, could I have a motion to recommend approval to the whole advisory board for this motion number 1?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. All in favor, we'll have to do a voice vote, I think. Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
can you see that on your screen?
I just said I don't know why I can't hear.
Okay, Mr. Connors, Mr. Reardon,
Yes.
Ms. Searles,
Yes,
is that a yes?
yes,
Barbara,
yes,
is that a yes?
yes,
Yes, that looks like a yes.
Okay, all right, and the chair votes aye, so that'll be a unanimous motion to recommend approval of motion number 1 at the full advisory board. Okay, motion number 2 is the vote to deauthorize the following FY23 capital projects. And this is the Dedham District Court generator and the schools, the skid steer, the Kemp Hall electric panel, McFarland Hall electric panel, Scissor Lifting Cafe upgrades. Any questions about motion number 2? Okay, thank you. I have a motion to approve from Mr. Reardon. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Connors. All in favor, we do roll call again. Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Mr. Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
aye,
and the chair votes aye. All right. Motion number 2, we're going to recommend approval. Motion number 3 is the vote to approve the following authorization of new FY23 capital items. The new weights and measures program, vehicle equipment, and the school utility pickup. Any questions about these items?
Just some sort of an explanation on the weights and measures program.
You're gonna get a full presentation. You'll receive a full presentation on the advisory board, but basically the county is looking to reach into the regional services program mission and create a modest weights and measures program to service Franklin, Needham, and Rentham to begin. This particular program has already included letters of interest that have been signed by these 3 communities when we look to do interagency municipal agreements within the next couple of months. So we're looking to build a program that will include at least 1 FTE starting in FY24, possibly a contracted vendor to help support the program as we get going. We received tremendous support from the state and also the city of Quincy, which their waste measures director is the head of the organization that handles Massachusetts. So we see a need that's been identified through our relationships with Norfolk County Managers Association. In this particular request, we're looking at a one-time cost to purchase the vehicle, which is very high, and also some equipment that is needed with the waste measures program to get going. I'll also point out, Bill will bring this up in his presentation. He believes this town of Needham has existing equipment, which will also look to augment our program as we get it going. This is a minimal amount of money to get going in the next several months. We're looking to engage further through IMAs and obviously budget processes called to firm up the start of this program July 1st, 2020.
Where's that vehicle going to be
Dedham, right behind the registry.
operated or maintained by the department?
Yes. Well, it will not be maintenance department, will be operated. It will be operated by the individual in charge of the program. One vehicle.
Is that a new person?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions about the weights and measures program or the school's new utility pickup? All right. Is there a motion to approve motion number 3 to recommend it to the advisory board for approval?
So,
Thank you, Mr. Reardon. Is that a second?
second.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. All right, Mr. Beckerman, we're voting on motion number 3. Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Mr. Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, motion number 3, we're gonna recommend approval. Motion number 4 is the vote to approve the funding of 2 county collective bargaining agreements for the engineering, the facility maintenance staff, and non-union county personnel, not including school personnel, retroactive to July 1, 2022. And you can see that the total value for the engineering contract is $18,000. The facility maintenance contract is $72,900, and the non-union county personnel is $92,800. Questions about that motion? Hearing none, can I have a motion to recommend that for approval to the whole advisory board?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Beckerman. Second, thank you, Mr. Connors. Okay, we're voting on motion number 4. Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, motion number 5 is the vote to approve this full supplemental transfer of capital expenditures totaling $1,325,925.71, which includes the FY23 capital spending and the supplemental items as presented, which you saw in the presentation. Items funded from the deeds excise as shown and associated transfers excluding. Questions about this motion? No questions. So could I have a motion to recommend approval to the full advisory board of motion number 5? Thank you, Mr. Connors. Do I have a second? Mr.
Second.
Reardon, thank you. And voting on motion number 5, Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Mr. Connors,
Aye.
Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, we're going to recommend approval on motion number 5. Now, motion number 6, we may want to hear something here on this. This is a vote to approve the proposed FY23 budget adjustments as presented by the Norfolk County Agricultural School to include salary adjustments, cost of living allowances, additional building and utility contracted services, district-wide supplies and materials, building maintenance supplies and materials, and food service supplies and materials. The expenses are to be offset by clerical and professional salary surpluses, as well as out-of-district tuition. The total proposed expenditure is $768,706.34 against available surplus $942,766, resulting in a surplus balance of $174,000 plus. So I think, should we have John, would you like to talk to us first, and then let's ask the questions?
Sure, yeah. Thank you. I have some materials to pass out to those here, and Mr. Buckley is trying to pull up these on the screen. But first of all, this is the expected continuation of the budget that you guys approved in April, or that the board approved in April, because at that time we hadn't settled our contracts and we hadn't done any raises for any of our staff, any of our employees. Also at that time, we were unsettled on the mix of students we would have. We didn't know what the freshman class was going to be like, because at that time we were doing county preference and we weren't sure the effect of county's preference. So we gave you a rather conservative idea of what tuition might be. So now what's happened is we've gone through the process of admitting the freshman class. We've also, of course, lost the senior class, and that's changed our mix as well. So at this point in the year, we have significantly more revenue than we thought. We're also taking in all of the costs associated with raises for both contract employees and non-contract employees, which is everybody at the school, almost 100 people. And then on top of that, we're trying to capture, as John Cronin mentioned, some of the inflationary costs that are hitting us. It's mostly in transportation in our case, and in utilities. So we put some big round numbers in there to cover, and I think we will cover all of those increases. So the net of all of this is now we're asking you to recommend a budget that has a higher surplus than the budget that the full board approved back in April. So there are a lot of pluses. There's some rather significant takeaways, but in the end, this is a slightly better surplus or contribution for future use than the one that was approved in April. But I'd be glad to, and I've given some supporting figures there to the extent that the finance group is interested in asking some specific questions. I also have some materials for the larger group, but they will be less comprehensive than what I've made available for you guys. But we're glad to discuss any individual lines or anything. I'm sorry to have distributed the materials this late, and I apologize to the people on Zoom that we haven't been able to show them.
Okay,
They can see it.
okay, so let me just understand what the request for the motion is. Are we changing it? No.
You'll be funding the requested increases, as Mr. Wilson said. So
I see, okay,
so
I see. Right, and that, is there any difference between those and what you presented?
yes, this is a separate motion.
Okay, all right, fine. All right. Okay, so I think we probably will have questions. Okay. Eric and Barbara, let's go to you first. Do you have questions for John about the school budget?
Not at this time.
Okay,
I'm also good.
you're also good at this time. Okay. Paul or Joe, do you have questions?
Mine is more of a comment.
Please.
I had the opportunity. Mine is more of a comment, Madam Chair. I had the opportunity to, and I'm never early, to be early and had the chance to speak with Superintendent and Mr. Wallace. My concern was for so long the egg operated at $500,000 loss. And my only concern is moving forward with declining revenues from registry, if things continue, the county won't have as much. And the vagaries of out of state, out of county tuition and how that all goes. But down the road, make sure that there is a surplus that either should change. Because looking backwards, $500,000 deficit in operating business. Thankfully, they just back online, but that was my concern.
Yeah, I think, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's one of the questions is, I'm thinking going forward, if this is going to be enough of a reserve here, enough of a surplus. Can I just ask a question about the contracting for the teacher? Is the COLA contracting in line across the county between I know that the teachers were going to have extra hours added to their, in the negotiations, right? And I remember that was really important. But is the COLA across the board the same at the school as it is for the rest of the county employees? Are we, no, it's not. So why is that different across the county? Can anyone explain that to me? I understand the teachers adding time. Totally get that.
Yeah, for this year, the non-union employees at the school do have, in aggregate, the same cost of living increase as the county. It's 2.75% as John Cronin showed you in his thing. So our increase is also 2.75% for this year. Now,
For the cost of living.
yes, yes.
And what about going forward after that?
Going forward after that, our school board and Northern County Commissioners have approved what next year's increase will be, cost of living increase will be. Historically, the school's non-union employees have had the same cost of living increase as their teachers.
Right.
So that's what we have maintained. Our teachers' cost of living increase for next year is 3.5%.
And does that include, is that in addition to extra hours, or does that include the extra hours? That includes the extra hours. And so for years two, and the next 2 years, are those already approved yet or not? And what are those approved yet? Are those commensurate with the maintenance of the facility, or are they different?
Those have not been approved by either the school board or the county commissioners, but there is a difference between what the county has shown you in one of its previous slides and what the school would suggest if it were to continue its custom of matching non-union employees with teachers.
And the teachers has been negotiated and signed.
Right.
And what was the teachers?
3.5% in year 2,
Yeah.
3.25% in year 3.
Okay, but there's no decision yet on year 2 and year 3 for non-union staff?
It
Okay,
has not been discussed yet at the school board or the county commission.
okay, all right.
This is just a vote for this year.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, I think following up on Mr. Britt's question about out years and making sure we have enough surplus.
It's something.
Okay,
It's going to be a benefit. The county commissioners will vote on this on and vote 2-1 to support Mr. Collins.
okay, all right, terrific, okay.
Could you explain the 25 students?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. If the sheet that was distributed, which I apologize again to those two, my intention of that sheet is to show you the risk associated with in and out of county students. Joe Reardon has already pointed that out or referred to that. But my intention there was to show you what would happen to our surplus should 25 students that are out of county shift to become in-county students, because we get paid less per in-county student. I felt an obligation to bring that risk for you guys. Exactly. The lower right-hand graph reflects what might have happened. So I want you guys to be fully informed that there is an additional risk to this budget that has to do with our reliance on out-of-county students. Now, our applications for this year have been majority out-of-county students again, which has been our history for the last few years. So there's every reason to believe that out-of-county students will continue to be the higher percentage of our each incoming class. Yeah, as it has been for the last.
That's all.
Right, I just wanted to let you know that the budget reflects the actual, the lower left box reflects as recently as a few weeks ago, what our student population is. So it continues to be highly out of county students.
Has it changed much from school?
Now, we've changed a couple of students, some have been out of county, some have been in county. We've lost a handful of students since the beginning of the year. Yeah.
I don't know if the rest of the committee would have done it, but I wanted to ask Mr. Collins, if he was available, Mr. Collins, why he dissented on this one. So we can understand a little bit better.
There's a sheet, the sheet that you have with individual employee cost of living might help you
Okay.
follow.
We understand. I just think it's helpful to hear from the party on for our committee.
Sure. So what happened was we had a trustee meeting some time ago before the advisory board voted on the teacher contracts. And the trustees voted to give the non-unions 3%. It hadn't gone through the county, it hadn't gone to the county commissioner level. We did it at the trustee level, the unanimous vote. Then we went to the advisory board. The advisory board gave us directions, and I'll come back to this. And so we never voted at the county commissioner level. And then we went back to the trustees and I said, look, it's not going to make it through the advisory board. They gave us directions. So we had to re-vote our vote at the last.
And this isn't
at
touched.
2 trustee meetings ago.
So I can't
And we
touch
wanted
it.
to bring it to the non-union down to 2.75, consistent with everybody else. And then the administration team at school came back the next meeting, because we had to vote it again, right? We had to vote it before it went to the advisory board. And the administration came back and for many reasons, team building, not going back on your word, they nobly, I don't know if that's a good word, they were very noble. And individually, they all chose to take less so that we wouldn't break our word. I had a problem with it because it was our mistake. And the administration paid for our mistake. And I didn't think it was fair all around, because then you have some people, non-unions and unions, making 2.75, and this one small group making 3%. So on the issue of fairness, it didn't work for me. And I also didn't think it was fair for the administration to take less, although I understood why they did it. And I understood it was a team building, compassionate effort on their part. So I don't hate it, but I didn't think it was right. And so for those reasons, personally, I can see why they did it. I think there are good reasons for why they did it, but again, they're paying for our mistake, because we made this mistake at the trustee level. And essentially, they took it upon themselves so that the trustees wouldn't break their word.
Thank you so much for explaining that, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. I hope that helps the committee in understanding the different perspectives on this motion. And are there other questions on this motion, or should we take a motion to approve motion number 6? All right, anybody want to make the motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second? Thank you, Mr. Reardon. Okay, all those in favor of recommending approval of motion number 6 regarding the school budget for the proposed expenditure of $768,706 against the available surplus of $942,766. Please vote aye. So, Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Mr. Connors, Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay. All right, that is, we're going to recommend approval on all 6 motions to the advisory board. Okay, Mr. Cronin, FY24 budget timeline. All right.
Unfortunately, it would appear as though I might be at a disadvantage. Bill, were you able to pull up the FY?
No.
I have no idea what's happening.
For the committee's benefit, we had prepared a draft FY24 budget schedule, which was presented to the county commissioners today. Condition approved. Again, it's guidance to your committee, was as well, Chairman Freer. It does not require a vote. We're obviously experiencing technical difficulties, and I don't think we'll have proceedings. I'll be happy to distribute this through you and through Mr. Reardon at a subsequent date, but it follows a pattern of similar timing as last year. One difference is, you may recall a year ago, we had the finance committee meetings typically a week before the advisory board. It seems so far this year that we're coupling the finance committee on the same date as the advisory board. So I kept that. There are 2 upcoming meetings remaining in April and beginning of May. Those will be the meetings that we will review the budget and approve it. We're also going to be doing a capital budget in sync with the operating budget as much as we can. So the dates are similar. I'll send out the budget memo as early as January 12th next week. And following that, posting as required in the law, and obviously some March for that budget. So I'll get the schedule out to you. I apologize if we had it electronically available, but it's advised, it's ministerial. We don't have to prove it. We'll set it up so it's fair enough.
Chair, question.
Yes.
Finance committee.
We have done that in the past. I think we found it very helpful. Commissioner Shea, would that be acceptable to you?
Sorry.
Would it be acceptable to you if we did again, the finance committee joined the commissioners in hearing the department head presentations? That would be great, yes. Okay. All right, all right, we will, thank you, Mr. Reardon, for reminding me of that. It's great. That's good. I think that's very helpful. It saves us a lot of questions, because then we get to hear it once. Okay, all right, and then I think we have to approve the minutes of our meeting of September 14th, 2022. So I'll take a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Beckerman. A second. Thank you, Mr. Connors. Are there any changes, recommendations, discussion?
Dr. Child, I have one question.
Thank you, Mr. Beckerman. What is that?
On the top of the minutes, it says Wednesday, December 15th, 2021.
Thank you for catching that. We'll change that.
Okay, so I made the motion to approve pending the change.
Okay, exactly. As amended, approved as amended. Okay.
As amended.
Thank you. All right. All in favor, Mr. Beckerman,
Aye.
Mr. Connors, Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles.
Abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Okay, thank you. And the chair votes aye. That's fine. You can. Okay, all right. And the last one is any other topics that we did not anticipate that need to come up before this committee? Thank you so much. Motion to adjourn for Mr. Reardon, a second.
Second,
Thank you, Mr. Beckerman. I'm sorry, we have to do one more roll call vote, everybody. Mr. Beckerman,
aye.
Mr. Connors, Mr. Reardon, Ms. Searles,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. And we will reconvene as the full advisory board at 6:30. Okay. Thank you.
Barbara Cannon is currently at most reclaiming hosts may disrupt breakout rooms, polls, and screen sharing.
I already told you I'm gonna pick up the ring on my lunch hour. So, I actually don't need any help. Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel like I'm not gonna forget my engagement ring, even if it's cold, but I appreciate it. And still not taking it, that is it. Don't want to say yes. Generations of breed. I think wrong. Yeah, I know, but I gotta go.
Excellent. Are you available to call the roll tonight? Are you?
I am.
And your share from the finance committee meeting. Thank you very much.
Hi, Eric. Eric, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, fantastic.
So Phil, you're in a good position?
Yes.
Okay, stand by one moment for me, please.
Okay, we can close that door. Yeah. Thank you. Coffee, Billy. Coffee. Bill.
Hey, Doc, I'll take mine with cream and sugar.
Good meal. Good. Excellent.
We call the meeting of the Norfolk County Advisory Board to order. This is a hybrid meeting via Zoom, and I'm going to read the guidance from the Governor and the Attorney General's office with regard to this being an open meeting. On July 16, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of provisions of the meeting law to March 31st, 2023. With that, I will begin the meeting tonight by asking Mr. Beckerman, Mr. Oscar to call the roll.
Okay. Avon is here. Bellingham. Braintree.
Yeah.
Brookline.
Here.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Here.
Dover. Foxborough.
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Here.
Medway.
Here.
Millis. Milton.
Here.
Needham.
Here.
Norfolk.
Here.
Norwood.
Here.
Plainville.
Here.
Quincy.
Here.
Randolph.
Present.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Here.
Walpole.
Here.
Wellesley.
Here.
Westwood.
Here.
Weymouth. And Rentham. Bill?
Was Rentham is present?
Present, yep.
I have 85.32
We
quorum.
have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to open an executive session, adjourn this meeting to open a temporarily an executive session pursuant to purpose 3, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation. So the public body and the chair so declares what to do. So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion.
Motion to enter into executive session, not to adjourn. Motion to enter.
Answer, sorry, Mike, only to turn it. So the motion to go into executive session has been made by Braintree, I heard it, and I didn't get the second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We do have to call the roll as this is a hybrid meeting. Mr. Beckerman, could you call the roll, please?
Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree. Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Aye.
Medway.
Yes.
Millis. Milton.
Yep.
Needham.
Yes.
Norfolk.
Aye.
Norwood.
Aye.
Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole. Wellesley.
Yes.
Westwood.
Yes.
Weymouth. Rentham.
Aye.
85.32.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd ask that only members of the Norfolk County Advisory Board be present in this executive session. Those who are on the Zoom, I believe, Mr. Buckley, you can get them back to the waiting room until such time as we have.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, would ask if the Samsung SM A716U on the Zoom could identify themselves as well as those utilizing iPhones.
Okay, so there are several people that are identified, and one of them is, do you have the list? Bill? There's anyone with an iPhone. I believe there are a couple of iPhones.
With Samsung.
And so there's one iPhone and one Samsung?
I know one of them is the gentle lady from Wellesley, but I cannot see which, so. Okay, that's not her. She's still in. And if the Samsung could identify themselves.
The Samsung SM. Would you identify yourself, please?
Just put on the way down.
I can't see it all. Bill.
You're all set.
Was everyone been readmitted?
Two joining, but yeah, everyone's.
Excellent. So proceeding with the agenda, there's been a lot of information that's been sent to the membership with regards to the financial activity over the past quarter and updates on ongoing things. I recognize the commissioners, county director for an update and an explanation of the supplemental budget transfers and items that are on our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the advisory board. This evening, I'll review with you the latest status of the proposed third budget adjustment, which will include supplemental items, requested transfer requests, amendments to our FY23 capital budget. Included in the transfer request slide deck that I'll have this puppet pull up is brief remarks relative to two collective bargaining agreements the county has arrived at. I'll then conclude with some observations ahead and a very brief one slide update on the American Rescue Plan Act activities of the county. Following this review, Mr. Chairman, I presume you'll ask for an update from the Finance Committee and corresponding motions associated with the request. Slide number 3. Chairman, would you like me to accept questions through the PowerPoint at the end? So this evening, as you can see from this screenshot, we begin our position approximately $451,916.69 in our reserve. This is as a result of spending funds totaling $787,508.79 on September 14th. This evening, we're asking, among other transfers and authorizations, to deauthorize two previous items that have been approved by this board in September, which will free up funds to make our available balance $714,966.69. Please note that the call-out box shows that this board approved a $1 million forward funding for our FY24 capital spending budget. That particular account I will keep an eye on as an available relief area for any large impactful events that are unforeseen. We're monitoring FY24 retirement cost increases, which I'll talk about in just a moment, as well as unexpected utility costs, which I'm sure the representatives of the various communities who understand are quite pressing. And then finally, any unexpected costs for snow and ice, which are according to Massachusetts. Slide 4. To begin our supplemental needs on these following 2 pages, I'll briefly go through each item, starting with our information technology department. They're requesting $150,000 for technology expenses previously covered by the Registry of Deeds Technology Fund. When this particular department was created in the FY23 budget, we had transferred funds from various budgets, including the registry, the commissioner's office, but we found that in FY22, certain expenses associated with operations were applied against the registry's technology fund, which is the registrar's domain. We reached out to the register on November 24th, asking if he would support any of these additional expenses being applied to the technology fund in FY23. The register responded that he was not amenable to that. So Subsequently, we're asking for these expenses to be drawn from the registry of deeds and excise. You'll note that these items are shaded in green. Those are the items that would be drawn from excise. The next two items are coupled between the registry and non-registry needs. Our new CIO, Sam Evans, who you'll hear from later on this evening, is requesting network switch updates, $7,500 respectively, as well as active directory upgrades for both the county and the registry. On the Walton Golf Course is requesting funds to continue and complete the recreational improvements. They're looking to demolish the bases of the benches that were installed, we believe, in the early 70s, install 2 additional benches, complete the grading, drainage, 15th hole, and procure new picnic tables, purchase and install these picnic tables in the spring. The Registry of Deeds had requested $60,000 for legal services. That request was considered by the commissioners on December 21st. Commissioners agreed to vote 2-1, support $10,000 legal services budget request. The Norfolk County Agricultural School, these items are in yellow for informational purposes only because the school's request comes in under a separate motion. We're just calling them out here to show some of the local improvements that are being made on this campus. As you mentioned this evening, you probably saw some curving, some paving areas that they're trying to attend to. That those projects will be funded with their surplus, as I mentioned, more detail on that in the presentation. Slide 5. The maintenance division is looking for improvements in lighting, as well as plaques associated with the Superior Court dedication to Parks and Dell Hunt earlier this fall, totaling $31,767. One footnote here, I just want to call attention to it. There was an act signed by the legislature, approved by the legislature, I should say, signed by the governor, that pays for the offset cost of all dedication costs associated with that Superior Court dedication this past fall. So the county will be reimbursed for those expenses. The Registry of Deeds had a fire alarm panel that failed in August. Our maintenance division replaced it. The cost was $8,745. That cost will be requested to be funded from the Registry of Deeds excise. Stoughton District Court required some new duct smoke improvements, detect improvements, totaling $3,000. And to complete the Stoughton District Court costs, we need an additional $38,000 to finish the rooftop unit project. The treasurer is requesting an additional $79,748 for a debt schedule correction. This was an item that our assistant treasurer, Joe DiArio, I believe is on the call this evening, had advocated for. Again, it's just closing a debt obligation on our balance sheet. The commissioner's office is looking to fund new signage for 4 courthouses, totaling $45,000. The largest item on your request this evening is the following item: anticipated increased utility costs. Right now, I've been in touch with many public managers and other facility folks who are familiar with the market that is currently driving utility costs. That's gas, electric, and so forth. Not a lot of people.
Just a little bit of oil, honey. That's how they have you fry it. It's not like.
Ask people, thank you. In this case, the county is looking at a 20% increase. Again, we're not certain if that is the absolute length of our obligations, but we will keep an eye on it as we encounter any additional increase before the fiscal year 23. But that cost will be $194,665. We also engaged in some duct cleaning at 614 High Street, the first time in anyone's memory, to make that place more habitable. And the commissioner's office is requiring a new color copier at $10,500. Slide 6. So in summary, after removing the deeds excise costs, backing out, as I mentioned, the school surplus division, the adjusted total supplemental spending before you this evening totals $406,294.82. When we remove that from our available balance, after this meeting, if you all agree to that number, we will carry a surplus for the remainder of FY23 of $308,671.87. One small footnote, I believe you all are familiar with the fact that the county footed an additional $75,000 for the Walton Recreational Facility Playground near Mark. The Commonwealth is paying for that. We have made application to the state Sent that in last month. Transition of government going on. We expect some delay, but my expectation is before the end of this fiscal year, we will see payment from the Commonwealth in that amount. We'll debit back that to our surplus in FY 23 because it comes before June 30th. Right now, with this proposal, we're expected to carry a $308,000 surplus. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if anything of larger consequence comes our way, we will look towards the FY 24 forward funding for capital. That concludes our request for supplemental needs. Moving into the transfer request base, slide 7. The maintenance and engineering contracts have reached memorandum of understanding phase. Both contracts include identical values of 2.75 in FY 23, 2.5% FY 24, 2.25% FY 25. The value of all the COLA costs, excluding the schools, will be drawn from the FY 23 reserve account that was appropriated in the FY 23 budget. Just as a footnote, members should receive single-page MOU detail in the event you have interest in additional components that were agreed upon between the county and each of those units. And also finally note the Registry of Deeds contract negotiations, excuse me, are heading to mediation on January 12th, 2023. Slide 8 shows the corresponding cost by department line item, if you will, of the salary COLAs and the incidental stipends, longevity, and other costs associated with contracts. This value totals $183,000. Again, offset by the appropriation. Finally, the FY 23 capital budget amendments on page 9. We are halfway through fiscal 23. We see an opportunity to optimize some of our available capital budget by deauthorizing 2 items and providing that space for new opportunities. The first, we are looking to deauthorize the Dedham District Court generator. It's an item funded at $99,000. We're going to put that project into the future at this time. Don't have an urgent need for it. We are going to use the value of that to seed our new weights and measures regional program, which Mr. Buckley will give this board a full explanation of shortly. That particular item includes just one-time costs. Schools are looking to deauthorize costs associated with the skid steer, electric panels at Kemp Hall, McFarland Hall, scissor lift, and cafe updates to offset the missing cost of $8,354 to procure the utility pickup truck. So that's an overage cost. So these slight adjustments will allow us to optimize our FY 23 capital budget. Slide 10, I'd like to give the board observations ahead, things that I'm keeping my eye on that could impact future financial policies and directions of the county. Some of you may be aware that earlier this year, the retirement board voted to change the method of evaluation, calculating the benefits of retirees. It has resulted in a shift that will cost the county approximately $400,000 over the next 6 years. This particular impact is obviously a net zero to the retirement board, but it did shift the burden from some of the smaller communities to larger organizations like the county. Mr. Connors, I'm sure, has a better explanation of the nature of that vote, but the impact certainly will be felt by the county in FY 24. We're wrapping up our new employee handbook, and new internal control plan should have that out to employees in the next month or so. We're going to keep an eye on our FY 24 budget growth. We have in our hands up to the end of October for trial balance. We're keeping an eye on how revenues are coming in so far. Unfortunately, if October doesn't present a really true run rate, a lot of the economic impacts associated with the housing market began in the summer, and consequently, the impact is not yet quite leveled out to a point where I have to focus. We do expect over the next couple of months to see that come in. We'll be getting the November trial balance soon, and then shortly after that, of course, the December, we'll have a better idea of how Teams Excise, for example, are trending. Right now, I'm comfortable telling you we're meeting our FY 23 revenue mark. But in past 2 years, that revenue has actually greatly exceeded the mark. which has produced our large surplus. That is not within vision in view right now. I don't see a $5 million surplus developing, but it's hard to say what it would be. And that will drive what we see as a base for FY24 revenue spending. We'll build that into our FY24 budget model. In a few minutes, we'll be talking about the FY24 budget calendar. I'll be sending out a memo to department heads next week with some guidance. But like every budget process, it's iterative. We'll see if we need to modify our projection going forward. Briefly, I wanted to give the board an update on the Quincy District Court disposition and our negotiations with the Commonwealth to date. Attorney Scott Lopez and I began negotiations with the Department of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance. I think it was in October or November. We've had about 4 or 5 meetings by Zoom. I will not get into the values that both sides are exchanging, but I think it's important for the board to understand the position that both sides find themselves in. We are far apart. Pursuant to general law, I believe it's chapter 34, 35, the county must follow a path including getting a fair market value appraisal. As you know, you funded an appraisal, which was delivered and shared with the Commonwealth. That appraisal has given us a fair market value. The Commonwealth, unfortunately, does not recognize a fair market value standard when it comes to public building exchange. They are in the business primarily of selling properties or selling properties off to smaller communities, gifting them. They do not have a long history of purchasing properties. That's another problem. If any of you have engaged in property transactions, to understand that comparable sales drive a lot of what a negotiation can bring forth. Commonwealth does not have any current sales where they have purchased property from another public utility. So we're in kind of uncharted territory. It's very respectful at this time, but the difference in value is quite substantial. Our last call was right before Scott Lopez went on vacation before the holidays, and we expect in January to reconvene and expect the Commonwealth to come back with counter-offer with value. We also understand that the transition in government, that may have an impact on how things work. We don't know what that means yet. We have asked. They claim that the plan to convert the Quincy District Court to a judicial center is likely to be sustained by the new administration. It's a top priority of their 5-year capital plan. We will be monitoring that. We still are very much engaged and want to work with the Commonwealth on this exchange, but I think the board needs to understand it's not likely to happen overnight, and the negotiations will continue until we reach what we consider fair market value enough to present to your body and the Norfolk County Commissioners for approval. And finally, Commissioner Shea wanted us to highlight some recent information from the Walton recreational facilities. It closed FY22. As you can know, their income expenses yielded a surplus of just under $150,000. I believe there was some public discussion of the last calendar year about the value of the Walton recreational facility, whether or not it was making money. Indeed, it is. We believe that some of the public dialogue was centered around some information relative to the pandemic's impact on playability of that lot. Naturally, some costs dropped during the pandemic, but it was momentary. FY22, they turned the property. Mr. Chairman, our last slide, and that would be slide 11. I want to just give you a brief update on the American Rescue Plan Act. As you know, the county was awarded $137 million. Our first award bill was made on December 1st, just over a year ago. To date, Norfolk County has awarded almost 31% of funds, or $41.8 million, to 18 communities. Norfolk County has increased its eligible allotment also to 75% as of December 22nd. This is important. When we talk to our partners in the other counties, what we recognize is that we are more forward-thinking and we're pushing our communities to receive these funds and spend them in a timely fashion. Providing a higher allotment allows communities the flexibility to engage large projects now and have the time to expend the funds before they need to be obligated exactly 2 years from now, on December 31st, 2024. The commissioners have also voted a $2,000 person premium pay benefit from the ARPA account granted to the county. This benefit has been provided to engineering and maintenance workers through the collective bargaining process. The commission will evaluate eligible non-union staff to be considered for this benefit in the coming months. One of the elements of the final rule states if you're going to use the premium pay benefit, rule number 1, lowest paid workers get paid first. That's a golden rule. Commissioners about that. Any individuals that would be eligible after that will be evaluated in the coming weeks by the commissioners. I want to just briefly mention again the registry of deeds contract is in mediation. I'm not trying to lead them out of the conversations, just taking a different path. It's suffice to say over the last several months as we've negotiated and have connected obviously with the registrar over some of the components involved in that negotiation. Elements like the premium pay have been exchanged. So while I can't tell you how it all ended up, I think you can read my lips and see that we're trying to treat everybody fair. Incidentally, to close the funding, $41.8 million expended to date, most of it has fallen under infrastructure. That's what we thought when we started this program. It's really solidly falling in that realm. Many of your communities see the benefit of using this money to improve stormwater and access to clean water sources. That includes large projects, including Medway. When it was on the call, using their entire water treatment plant. You expect Randolph to be in soon, Holbrook as well, with a large water treatment infrastructure. So clearly, ARPA is landing in a space in Norfolk County that is primarily infrastructure, followed by public health, economic impact, and finally revenue replacement. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to present this request to your board this evening, and stand ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. With the indulgence of those in the room, I would, Mr. Buckley, like to see if there are any more members.
Yes, Chair, if anybody would like to raise their hand, ask a question. I don't see anything.
Any in the room? I'm sorry, Mr. Feinstein.
Foxborough here. Just my own information, just define in a little more detail what the term eligible allotment means.
Are you referring to the previous head or?
There's this Norfolk County increased eligible allotment total award to 75%.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Exactly what is that?
It means when we received our funding, Norfolk County received 2 tranches. We received half of the $137 million in the first year, and the second half this past fiscal year. When we received the money, we along with the other counties in Massachusetts elected a 25% of total award eligibility. So your Foxborough, I'm afraid I can't remember how much you're allotted, but say it's $5 million, negative 40. We initially allotted $1 million. You could only apply the first year or so for up to $1 million, 25%. We increased it to 50% pretty quickly. I think it was last fall. And what we realized is the allotment process was, and it is designed to handle your cash flow, especially in the first year when you really have to. Where I come from in the state, for example, when you're getting your budget on July 1st, you don't get your full allotment. You're given your allotment over a period of time. It's a manage of resources, in fact. What we're doing though is we're accelerating the access to the funding to 75% for a community like Foxborough. So if they wanted to enter a portal application today, they could get up to $3 million. Okay. There are instances, Medway's in one of them, where if a project comes before us and it's ready for prime time, it's been fully bid, it's met all of the criteria of the final rule, we will award 100% of that. In fact, that did happen with Medway. And I think it happened with one more, I can't remember. So we are working, we are flexible, but the guideline right now is to open it up a little bit more of a lot so communities can gain access to the funds now. Because I know 2 years sounds like a long time, but in my experience, it's not. Especially when you're publicly bidding something, trying to get work done in a competitive world where a lot of the communities will need the same kind of resources. That's the question.
Excellent, thank you. Do you want Mr.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Mr. Chair, we online have lost any hearing. Guess that didn't matter to him.
Think about it, Peter, one of the things that strikes you is when you build out these costs into a budget, you gotta determine, are these regular and recurring expenses that will need to be baked into your budget going forward? Or are they more one-time in nature? This is kind of a, hybrid, right? Because we know it has an end date. When, Paul, I can give you, I can't remember your actuary's name.
Dan Sherman.
Thank you. When Dan presented to the commissioners about a month ago, Peter, he explained that there's a certain leveling off once the county starts making this payment. So when they level off on that obligation, I think it's 6 years out, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, give or take, is that about right? Yes. And at that point in time, this contribution is going to drop almost to nothing. So it's not really a regular recurring expense that will go on for perpetuity like borrowing costs, for example. So right now, I'm looking at that forward funding capital piece that we put into FY24 as the area to tap to satisfy our FY24 obligation. And then we'll have to see how our revenue, how our surplus plays over the next several years to see if we can in fact use surplus to forward fund that obligation. There's really no feasible way the county can absorb that kind of money into our base operating budget without substantial impact. It's not feasible. So we're going to be looking at that type of a funding stream over the next several years just to meet the obligation. And then when it's done, it's done. We would have hopefully not have disturbed our operations. Makes sense.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, let me add Jones. The county lieutenant will be coming back to the advisory board, giving you an update. Probably in January, February, depending on the advisory board, like for schedule. Those numbers aren't passed right now. And I will say this, it's a matter of being consistent with all the other county retirement systems in the Commonwealth. All the counties in a different method doing the actuarial evaluation. We're the only one lagging behind. It's not going to affect a lot of communities. Most communities will put pressure on the county retirement board to change this so that they're paying the same money, the same rate. But you will have a full picture from the retirement board in January.
Mr. Buckley, I see at least one hand raised on Zoom. Are there others?
I have Mr. Polito from Dedham.
Mr. Polito, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. Couple questions on the budget presentation. On motion number 1, can you give me an update why these both being decommissioned? The Brookline Court and the the school cafeteria, when last month they were important.
Yes, my pleasure. This board authorized $163,050 towards the replacement of the Brookline gutters and downspouts. We went out to bid, Mr. Polito, following that authorization. The bid exceeded $300,000. We believe that the project, or the bid, which was only one contractor, is reflective of current market situations with the value of copper being one of these, by the way, are architecturally significant copper downspouts and gutters. And so we've elected to postpone this project in FY23. I've spoken to the contractor about the condition of the existing gutters and downspouts, and we've been assured that they are fine to get us through at least one more winter. Regarding the school cafeteria study, this came up in the finance committee meeting. Want me to take a quick stab at it, John? The schools have elected to defer this as well. They visualize the need to first potentially identify long-term funding for the scope of replacing this type of structure before they want to look at a study of how to do that. In other words, if they did a study now, they'd get an answer, they'd get a cost, but by the time they've identified the funding for it, the study and its relevant content may very well be outdated. Safe enough to say? Yes. Leo, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. On the information technology for the $150,000 for the registry, can you, with the IT involved and the registry involved, and what is that going to, 150 going to buy us?
As I mentioned, the $150,000 is a list of expenses that are operational in nature, Mr. Polito. I can go through the full list, but they are items that were previously covered by the technology fund under the registry of deeds in FY22. The register Under his purview and his authority, was elected not to move those expenses against the technology fund in FY '23. So subsequently, we're going to need authorization to fund them. And these are exclusively registry expenses, by the way, from Registry of Deeds Excellence.
So these are basic expenses we're paying in past years. You're just gonna fund it out of this account now?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. And the other one was the signs at the courthouse. Don't we have courthouse signs there now at the 4 district courts?
Actually, no, we don't.
We don't?
No, we have a new one at Superior, but the others do not.
Okay, the other question is the any of these expenses like the lighting at the Superior Court, replacement of the fire alarm panel, the smoke delay, are these expenses been already used, and been purchased, and just we're gonna pay for it now without the appropriation prior?
The items were procured through the maintenance division's department budget, so these are reimbursed costs against it.
Oh, get the budget, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Boynton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little context into the, maybe a little added context into the issue for retirement costs going forward. Having been directly involved in this, along with some colleagues in Walpole, et cetera, there are, back in June, it was presented by the retirement board to member communities that the system, there were 2 different ways of doing your assessment model, which one was the historic payroll based, and the second one is the actuarial based. The actuarial based being the true, fair, and most equitable way to do it. So as it turned out, some of the smaller communities, Medways, Walpoles, Canton, et cetera, there were a number of communities that were paying not thousands more each year, hundreds of thousands more each year on a payroll-based system. So we made the pitch to the retirement board that system needed to be investigated. We needed to do something to change that. The initial projection from the actuarial team by Mr. Sherman's folks was that if in fact we did an immediate transition from payroll to actuarial based for fiscal '24, the potential impact on the county was well north of $1 million. So we but discussed the possibility of phasing that type of system in over a 3-year window. Again, meaning the smaller communities are picking up more of a share of the retirement costs for that 3-year piece. John, when was it? I think it was the end of November. We met with the county commissioners, came in and had a conversation about the potential impact on this relative to the county budget. And again, recognizing that the county does have some limitations, but also keeping in mind that every city and town that's part of the Norfolk County retirement system also has its share of limitations. That it was a compromise, if you will, that the retirement board would institute a 4-year phase in. So that still represents several $100,000 in added money just in the town of Medway budget alone. I could speak to that very intimately. But nevertheless, this is something that we will hopefully collaborate on and get through. It needs to happen. And as John indicated, the fully funding aspect of Norfolk County retirement is fiscal year 29. So when you get to fiscal year 29, and again, assuming that there's probably a 1-year lag on that, you're looking at nearly an 80 to 90% reduction in whatever the county and all of the member units are paying towards that retirement assessment. So again, we have some difficult years, all of us, to get through, but I think the commissioners are to be commended as well for working collaboratively with the smaller communities and cities and towns in the Commonwealth, in the county, I should say, to try to resolve this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Boynton. Bill, is there anyone else?
I do not see any other raised hands.
Any other questions from the room? Next.
Paul Brown and you. Just concern page 9, first line, right, with the second. Is there any life safety implications of not proceeding with that? We'll talk about that a little more.
No life safety involved here. We're looking to upgrade the generator. I believe it's functional at this time. The capital plan is designed over a period of 5 years to anticipate the need for replacement of certain items. After speaking with our maintenance division, they've elected to defer this item. One of the other concerns on this item is if we were to engage in it now, because of supply stream issues, we might encounter a delay in not having it on site by the end of June. Just another reason why we're gonna clear up until next year.
Recognize, oh, I'm sorry. Back to front. Defer.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the answer that I just heard about the retirement. Is the county on a trajectory to close whatever on funding shortfall by FY 29? Is that what's driving?
Fully funded. That's right.
To be fully funded by FY. My reference is OPEB, where there's no hard deadlines.
Be different.
Kind of think these things through. So that's basically the reason we drop off to 29 is just that shortfall.
That's okay.
Data for the Dedham District Court. You should have a maintenance program that goes out and tests generators once a month at the load, and you run the generator, simulate a utility power loss, you pull the power, and make sure the generator starts, and you don't find out the generator. So.
Are there any other questions in the room? The finance committee met prior to this meeting. The finance committee went over this same material with the director, and there are several motions that are, and we've already seen them, they've been out. There's several motions that will be required in order to move this forward. I'd like to recognize the chair of the finance committee, Dr. Giles, to give the opinion of the finance committee and then walk through these different motions.
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of all of these motions to the full advisory board, all 6 motions. Our Finance Committee is now thrilled. Barbara Cyril is part of our group now, so we have a full complement of Mr. Beckerman from Avon, Ms. Seals from Wellesley, Mr. Connors from Randolph, Mr. Greenfield, and myself. And we miss you. You did that for so many years. But I do want to just run through these motions. I think, do we need to do them each separately, I believe, Mr. Chair? We did them in
They do, and I just want to afford the opportunity to the school if they wish to speak to. Whenever you want to get it.
Okay.
Just because they present to us.
Okay, so can we go through them each one, and then I'll just read them and move it, and maybe somebody else will second it from the full advisory group. So motion number 1 is I would move we vote to approve the authorization of the following items previously funded for FY 23 supplemental use. The authorized Brookline gutters and downspouts project from line 1422 approval for $163,050, and deauthorize the school cafeteria study from 9/14/22 approval for $100,000.
Motion's been made by the chair of the finance committee. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Balder. Is there? No. Mr. Buckley?
Yes.
And Mr. Beckerman, are you still there, Rick?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, excellent. We call the roll with regard to the motion on the floor.
Okay, so on motion number 1.
Eric?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? I had to switch sources. You can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you, Phil.
Okay, and just a clarification, is Walpole present?
Yes.
Yes.
Walpole is present. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so on the roll for motion number 1, Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Aye.
Dover.
Yes.
Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Medfield.
Aye.
Medway.
Yes.
Millis. Milton.
Aye.
Needham.
Yes.
Norfolk.
Aye.
Norwood. Norwood,
Mr. Donahue?
you're muted.
Aye, that was a call from Janice Riolo from Florida.
Okay,
Aye.
Norwood, okay. Plainville.
Yeah, aye.
Quincy,
Aye.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole,
Yes.
Wellesley,
yes,
Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth, Rentham.
Aye. We're at 85.32.
Motion one passes. Yeah,
Dr. Childs, you're right.
The second motion is motion number 2, a vote, and I would move that we vote to approve the authorization of the following FY23 capital items. The Denham District Court generator, 99,000, the school skid steer, 3,400, school Kemp Hall electrical panel, 899, school McFarland Hall electrical panel, 1499.55, school scissor lift for $1,005, school cafe upgrades for $1,645.
Second to the motion.
Second.
Second, Foxborough. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'd ask, call the roll, please.
okay, on motion number 2, Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree. Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham,
yes,
Dover. Foxborough,
Aye.
Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton,
Aye.
Needham,
Yes.
Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood,
aye,
Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Aye.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole,
Yes.
Wellesley,
yes,
Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth, Rentham.
Aye. 85.32 in favor.
Thank you. Motion number 3, I move that we vote to approve the following authorization of new FY23 capital items, new weights and measures program vehicle and equipment for 99,000 and a new school utility pickup for 8,350.
Second, Foxborough. Mr. Beckerman, oh, I'm sorry, is there any discussion? No further discussion, Mr. Beckerman, you call the roll, please.
Okay, motion number 3, Avon votes aye. Bellingham, Braintree, Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
Yes.
Cohasset, Dedham,
yes,
Dover, Foxborough,
Aye.
Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook, Medfield,
Aye.
Medway,
Yes.
Millis, Milton,
Aye.
Needham,
Yes.
Norfolk,
Aye.
Norwood,
aye,
Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Aye.
Randolph,
Yes.
Sharon, Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole,
Yes.
Wellesley,
yes,
Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth, and Rentham.
Aye. 85.32.
Motion 3 carries.
Motion number
Point of
4.
order. Somebody gonna talk about these, what the bargaining agreements or just-
Ask for more discussion.
I have questions about.
So, absolutely. Well, why don't we make the motion and then we'll have the discussion.
I thought somebody, through the chair, I thought somebody was gonna talk about these.
More specifically than you, we can do that. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Recognize it. It does contain the language of those. You have.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ryan, effectively what I would be inclined to do, okay with you, is I'll go through maintenance overview and engineering overview. And any questions for about the maintenance overview. The county's engaged in a proposed contract for 3 fiscal years, 23, 24, 25. Effectively, that would end this contract June 30, 2025. A vacation benefit during the employee's first year of employment. Vacation days will accrue on a monthly basis and may be used upon accrual after proper scheduling. If vacation milestone when met, be awarded on the employee's anniversary date fiscal year becomes effective. These items in their totality, Mr. Ryan, are administrative cleanups. They make our administrative process of handling and managing vacation more seamless. Carry on with vacation carryover up to 10 days, provided that the employee applies in writing and receives written authorization from commissioners. Otherwise, that means vacation time remaining at the end of the fiscal year shall be forfeited without compensation. By effective July 1st, 2022, any employee who provides 3 years notice of intent to retire may carry over unused vacation days up to a cap of 45 days, which shall be paid out to the employee at the time of retirement. Each contract recognizes the new Juneteenth holiday. This particular contract accepts that as well. Weather-related state of emergencies, in the event the governor declares a weather-related event on a regular workday and unit members are required to work. This being this contract only, said members shall receive 1 comp day off with pay to be used during the same fiscal year. That compensation day cannot be carried over the following year. Longevity stipends are going up in FY23 by $100, FY24 by $50, and FY25 by $50. Hazardous pay associated with this contract will be $1,300 per year. I believe that's up from $1,000, if I'm not mistaken. As I mentioned during the slide presentation, the wages are effective 2.75, 2.5, and 2.25 for a 3-year period. And also, as I mentioned, premium pay benefit of $2,000. In this case, paid out with 30 days of application. Questions on that? Charlie, before I go to engineering? Keep going.
I have a question.
Okay. Engineering, same contract term, adopts the Juneteenth holiday. Vacation accrual for engineers shall be credited to employees on July 1st of each year based upon the employee's years of service. Vacation milestone when met will be awarded to the employee's anniversary date. Fiscal year effective. Longevity also goes up $100 in FY23, 50 and 24, and 25. Employees using their own vehicles as directed by the county engineer shall be reimbursed the mileage at the IRS rate. Clothing is $650 per year stipend. COVID-19 variant testing, the employees was provided employees for COVID-19 rapid test kits. Wages, as I mentioned, identical year 2.75, 2.5, 2.25 over the 3-year period. The safety stipend, which was due to the engineers, $500 for any and all personnel expenses incurred in connection with county provided training relative to workplace safety. This board may recall that in FY22, I believe it was, engineers were funded to go to OSHA training, and they have additional training required for their business. This stipend, safety stipend, helps them get there because they previously not been paid to go. Now they are. And in addition, they're receiving a $2,000 stipend via the American Assisted Rescue.
And this, added the Juneteenth holiday. What holidays do employees currently get? Do they get the 17th of June off?
No.
The premium pay of $2,000. Is that, I understood that that's something that's happening now because we have federal money that now, or is this being said, discussed under the pretense that this is something that's going to happen at the time, to get $2,000 a time? Or does everybody understand that we have this money?
It's a very good question. It's very clear in our negotiations that this was a federal grant benefit. and then one time in nature. Many communities have engaged premium pay as a function of a regular administrative payment. Charlie, we've seen several communities in Massachusetts engage with payments towards employees. Commissioners decided to put this under collective bargaining. And during the discussions, it was made clear that it is a one-time payment. It is in recognition of the service of these eligible employees during the time when many of them were the tip of the spear, if you will, cleaning our facilities and keeping them safe. The benefit is a one-time. The federal grant allows for it. And as mentioned, it does require commissioners vote, and it does not necessarily have to go through the advisory board. It's a federal grant. So yes, it is a one-time cost and I recognize it as such.
A couple of questions. It's nice to see that we're putting language in the contracts about, you know, it doesn't seem realistic to me that somebody has to give 3 years notice on their intent to retire to get paid their vacation. I think a lot of people don't have that foresight that they're going to 3 years. I want to do this. On the weather-related state of emergency, get the prompt day, the maintenance staff, they're government declares a state of emergency, the maintenance staff, are they like plowing, snow removal, and that kind of stuff?
That's exactly right.
I think that's a dangerous precedent, saying to somebody, prompt day, come to work. I don't know if any other. But it's kind of like, that's the nature of the job. If you're in the maintenance department, it's snowing out, you have to plow, you have to shovel, you have to come to work. And you know, if you're an office person, you don't have to come to work. I understand being frustrated with that, but that's the nature of the role we live in. I really don't agree with people on days for work. They get to be.
Just to be clear, I understand what you're saying, but to be clear, this would be indications when emergency workers are required to go to work. Maybe staff are emergency delegations, that separates them. Everyone else is inclined to stay home to get a snow day. So,
Yeah, I'm an emergency worker. So I understand that. I just don't agree with it.
I get you.
And the hazmat, $1,300 a year hazmat. Is that something that's gone up and given more money? Was that whole cost $1,300 a year?
It is not new. It has been in the contract for some time. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it went up 300 in this contract. One item I'd like to call your attention to is we're recognizing the premium pay that during an extraordinary time in our lives when the pandemic impacted all of us, that many of these workers went above and beyond on a daily basis. Maintenance workers, especially Charlie, have come for points of contact with highly contagious diseases and dangerous individuals. Courthouses house individuals who are being detained for trial. We heard vividly during the negotiations from one member who regularly has to clean up various types of human material in various jails. None of the other units have to enjoy that kind of hazardous environment. One other thing, I believe it was earlier this year, we got a report from a worker in our Stowe District Court who was emptying a trash can and pricked his finger in a hypodermic needle. How the hypodermic needle got into the courthouse is a matter that we address with the court security personnel. Frankly, their metal detectors don't pick up needles, ironically. But our worker came in contact with it and had to go through a regimen for age-related exposure. None of our other workers have to do that kind of hazardous access. So I think it's something that's justified, and to your point, has been in the contract. So what I'm this year.
Any other questions? Childs?
Thank you. The Finance Committee recommended approval of motion number 4. So I move that we vote to approve Fund funding two county collective bargaining agreements with the engineering and facility maintenance staff and non-union county personnel excluding school staff retroactive to July 1st, 2022. This is for engineering contract value total of $18,098.25. For facility maintenance contract total value of $72,952.61. And for non-union county personnel at $92,886.03.
I will second the motion, Mr. Beckerman. Ready before I. Mr. Beckerman, call the roll.
Yep. On motion number 4, Avon votes aye.
Okay.
Bellingham. Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Aye.
Midway. Millis. Milton.
Aye.
Needham.
Yes.
Norfolk.
Aye.
Norwood. Norwood. Is Mrs. Donahue still on? Okay. Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole.
Yes.
Wellesley. Wellesley. Westwood.
Yes.
Weymouth. Rentham.
Aye.
Sorry, Wellesley votes yes.
Mr. Beckerman, is there a chance I saw Mrs. Donahue, can we raise her for a vote?
I did see her as well. I don't see her on there now. Mrs. Donahue, you still with us?
She said aye. Okay.
Said aye, okay. So Norwood voted aye. Phil, you still there?
Through Mr. Chair, Phil's taking.
Phil's taking it.
$85.32.
84.32, thank you.
5.32, yep.
Dr. Childs?
Motion number 5, the Finance Committee recommended you approve this, so I move that we vote to approve the full supplemental transfer of capital expenditures totaling $1,325,925.71, including the new FY23 capital spending supplemental items as presented to you tonight, items from deeds excise as shown, and associated transfers excluding.
Mr. Chairman, was there a second?
Thought I heard one. Randolph, Mr. Connors. Any further discussion? Hearing none, yes, roll be called.
Okay, motion number 5, Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Aye.
Medway. Medway. Millis. Milton.
Aye.
Needham.
Yes.
Norfolk.
Aye.
Norwood. Norwood.
Through Mr. Chair, note is yes.
Okay. Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon. Stoughton. Stoughton. Walpole.
Yes.
Wellesley,
Yes.
Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth, and Rentham.
Aye.
Mr. Beckman, for one
Yes.
moment, I'd like to recognize a gentleman from Stoughton. I don't know that his vote was.
Okay. And also.
Design.
Okay. And do we have a vote from Norwood as well? Okay.
85.32.
Okay. Dr. Child.
All right, motion number 6, the Finance Committee recommends that you approve this, so I will move that we vote to approve the proposed FY23 budget adjustments as presented by the Norfolk County Agricultural School, which they will do in just one moment, to include salary adjustments, cost of living allowances, additional building and utility contracted services, district-wide supplies and materials, building maintenance supplies and materials, food service supplies and materials. Said expenses are to be offset by clerical and professional salary surpluses, as well as out-of-district tuition. The total proposed expenditure is $768,706.34 against an available surplus of $942,766.03, resulting in a surplus balance of $174,059.69. We're going to hear from John Wallace, I think, about this proposal. The conversation with the Finance Committee, there were 2 primary questions. One was around the forward motion of the budget, remembering that the school budget had to close a $500,000 deficit over several years, I believe. What does it mean to have the surplus balance down at 174 after these expenditures? That was one of the questions. And Mr. Wallace can address that question for the whole committee, as the whole board as he did for the committee. And the other question was why the reductions in the some of the professional salary changes. Yes.
Is there a second to the motion before further discussion? Foxborough seconds the motion. Mr. Wallace, you're recognized.
Thank you. I've just distributed some materials that support the change to the budget that the school is looking to make. But first, let me start out by saying this is a necessary second budget that was always anticipated. It was a result of the fact that our first budget that you guys approved in April did not include the raises that were going to come from our teachers' contract negotiation and raises for staff that would be related to, and in our case, dependent on that contract being closed. So this was always expected to have happened. So what the school is asking for now is to have those costs associated with that teacher's contract approved, as well as the cost of similar raises to all of our non-union staff. We have about 60 teachers and about 40 non-union staff, so we have raises in there for all of those individuals, and we could talk about the value of those raises or percentages if you like. In addition to that, the school is attempting to get ahead of some of the inflation pressures that Mr. Cronin mentioned previously, particularly in our case in transportation of students and in our utilities. So we have suggested some increases in particular lines. And last major source of increase is some smaller capital projects that we had intended to ask for in the supplemental budget. But Mr. Cronin suggested that we just run them through our surplus. So there's about $100,000 of smaller capital projects that primarily has to do with our gym and our paving, which Mr. Cronin mentioned earlier. On the positive side, all of the additional revenue comes from out-of-county tuition, and that is a function of the composition of our freshman class. When we put this budget together, there was no freshman class, and we were very conservative about what the composition of that freshman class would be relative to in and out of county. As you probably all understand, that in-county students pay quite a different rate than out-of-county students. As it turned out, the composition of the freshman class was primarily out-of-county, which was consistent with the applications that we've received over the last few years. We tend to have more out-of-county applications than in-county applications. So the class turned out to be quite a bit different than we thought, and there was a net of about 35 students that were out of county rather than in county in our initial budget. So all of those things added up result in a slightly higher surplus than you guys approved back in April. So good news in the bottom line, but a budget that has both more expense and more revenue. If there are questions, or I'm sure there are questions, I'd be glad to attempt to answer them.
I don't feel comfortable voting on anything that's going to be in today. Is there a reason why I didn't have this like that?
Just presented tonight.
Like, I feel very comfortable voting on something. So someone's going to go to the whole budget. Just feel very uncomfortable. Maybe someone's going to explain what they have.
Well, the first page is an attempt that I made to identify every line. I've given you the old budget and the new budget, so the differences are there. As far as the timing of the materials, I apologize for the timing of the materials. I wasn't as coordinated with the county as I should have been in getting those materials sent out. I'm very familiar with how the timing works for our trustees. Materials in advance and send out, but this is the process that school everyone's familiar with.
Other questions? Ryan?
Yeah. So the COLA for all the teachers is 2.75, 2.5, and 2.25.
No, the contract for our teachers is a combination of 3 and 3.75 in year 1, 3.5 in year 2, and 3.25 in year 3. That was a contract that you guys approved back in September.
And added one time, so can you say those numbers again?
Sure, the raise for year 1 for teachers was either 3% or 3.75%, depending on where they were in the salary range. Those at the top of the range got 3.75%. Those on all the other levels got 3%. Year 2 is 3.5% across the board. Year 3 is 3.25% across the board.
And added one-time teacher payment for teaching time change, that's the increases you just described?
No, there was a separate one-time payment of $500 per teacher, and $500 per teacher. Yeah, those are just additional positions we ended up adding as a result of the negotiation with teachers. One of them being a ride coordinator, some parking lot position. So that just represented chances for teachers to earn more money with a couple of additional tasks or jobs that we agreed to add to the.
How many stipends were there?
I can't recall exactly. I would say there were maybe 3 or 4 or 5 maybe effectively, because some were by semester and were broken into 2 pieces, but I think effectively like 4 or 5. And those stipends are usually anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 per stipend.
And then the 4 added COLA for non-union staff, what were they?
Well, we only did 1 year at a time. The first year's COLA for non-union staff works out to be 2.75%.
Everyone gets that, or you waking it up differently?
Yeah, not everybody gets that amount. The amount ranges from 0 to, I think, 9% in one case.
Is who's getting 0?
I'd rather not. I don't know. I could defer to the chairman about whether we want to discuss it.
I'm afraid that. Does it all add up to a 2.75?
Yes, yeah, 2.75.
All right, is this something, doing it this way, is this something that's kind of a one-time thing, or is this something that you could do?
What aspect is?
Not, well, if everybody gets a 2.75% increase, and instead of giving everyone 2.75 increase, giving different people different increases, that's something that, we're doing this time, or is this something that's gonna happen again?
I think for our non-union employees who are not administrators, technically with our non-union employees, we have 2 classes, those that are just non-union employees and those that are considered administrators. So for non-union employees, yes, it's definitely our intention to give every non-union employee the same raise, and that's what we did this year. For administrators, I think it's our intention going forward, and Mr. Martin can chime in if he wants to consider the competitive marketplace and determining what we want to pay our administrators. So we'll probably do that in a more thoughtful away. Some of the administrators, 3 of the administrators are paid directly by the board of trustees. Their compensation set by the board of trustees of the school.
So you might do it this way then?
I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan?
Is that the answer, that they might decide to distribute the 2.75 or different percentages in the future?
Well, I think the genesis of this was, the original ask was across the board, but it was higher than the 2.75% that others had received. So the compromise through the trustees was that the administrators said that they would not take it. And when it averaged all out, it was 2.75%. So that they didn't receive something, but the others did. And the differentiation is administrators versus just classification of non-union. Yeah. So that was a compromise that was reached in order to get to the 2.75.
I'm really not in favor of that. I think if you do not 2.75, everybody should just get 2.75. I understand that, like, he was doing something noble, if somebody might take something to give it to somebody else. But I think, everybody should get a 2.75. And I think, one of the big happens down the road, like say, if I took 0, basic math, I took a 0 to give it a 6, right? I took a 0 to give it a 5.5. Then the next time it comes up, well, I want 5.5 because I took a 0 last time. So, they almost need to grab the line. It's real simple to say everybody's getting 2.75. That's the reason. So it's not. Actually, sometimes I worry about county government or in our own little worlds and making decisions in our own county, generally accepted accounting principles. We're doing things differently in our own little world. So I worry that we should be doing. I see in Braintree, I see it, different cities and towns get these little things done differently, and then all of a sudden, no one keeps track of the new back, so I didn't get a raise this year. So I'm going to support this, but I'm concerned that it's going to be something that's done every year. Updated salary of 7 administrators, describe that.
It's just what we discussed, is that those 7 administrators were considered and each one was suggested a salary. It's not necessarily the 2.75%. That's just what we went through.
So that's their cost of living.
Exactly. Their salary change, whether you call it cost of living or performance or whatever, their salary change was not necessarily 2.75%. Those were considered individually to some extent.
Some of the stuff got cut off. Added 100,000 to the building maintenance contract service budget for minor.
Yeah, that's the paving and the gym repair that I talked about, that we had originally thought we'd get from the county, but decided to run through our own level. You're welcome.
Question out of curiosity, because I'm mapping it onto our own towns. Teachers' contracts. Do the teachers' contracts here have steps in place?
Yes.
So when you're talking about a contract that has a percentage increase in year 1, year 2, year 3, that's the increase in the framework. That actually is not the indication of the growth in salary that a teacher would get as they navigate their way up the matrix and steps in life.
Correct, yeah. Cost of living changes the matrix itself from year to year. Your position on the matrix changes both based on your experience and your education potential.
The reason I care is in our town, our cost growth for labor is 5%. And so it's, in some ways, we're talking about affordability and things like that. It's actually what it costs that are staying a few years to learn that. So I was curious, you got the same thing.
Yeah, only the people at the top of their range would get just the cost of living increase. Other people would be getting both a step increase and a cost of living increase.
I could ask the question a different way. From a year ago to this year, what was the overall growth of labor costs for people? I'm thinking teachers specifically.
Yeah, I don't have it here in front of me, but if I had to guess, I would guess it would be maybe 5%. That would include probably people who changed their column based on their education, but I think it would be 5 or 6% probably if you average to everybody. We have a lot of people at the top of their range, which is good and bad. It's bad. I mean, they have base salaries that are high, but their salaries don't increase as much because they're just getting cost of living at this point.
Are there any other questions in the room? I believe Mr. Polito has a question.
Yes, the question about the number 2, indirect, update indirect cost for members of Dedham, can you explain that? How much increases that? The more students?
Yeah, that's about 80%. That's about an $80,000 increase. That came directly from the county. So after our original budget was approved in April, we were given an updated number for indirect costs from the county, and that was $80,000 higher. So we endeavored to work that into our costs at the school level. So that's money in between county departments, if you will. That's money between Dedham and us. So it's treated a little bit differently from the county's point of view. But when we look at the school's profitability or surplus, or however you look at it, we want to take into account that we increased by $80,000 our indirect costs share from the county.
Do we have more students going there from Dedham this year than past years? Is that why the increase is 2?
I don't know the number of students from any individual town within Norfolk County, but what I just described doesn't have anything to do with students.
Oh, no, okay, thank you. That's it.
Discussion on this motion going on. Dr. John.
I just want to point out to my colleagues in Braintree and others that the list of the actual positions and their salaries is included in your packet for your information.
The motion has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion, I ask Mr. Beckerman to call the roll.
Okay, for motion number 6, Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Abstain.
Holbrook. Medfield. Medway. Millis. Milton.
Aye.
Needham. Norfolk.
Aye.
Norwood.
Aye.
Plainville.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Randolph.
Yes.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole.
Yes.
Wellesley. Westwood.
Yes.
Weymouth. And Rentham.
I have 81.78 in favor, and I have Franklin abstaining at 3.54.
Thank you very much. Moving forward, I recognize the time. I would like to recognize the director first for a budget timeline, and then we have 2 other reports before moving into each one vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly for the advisory board's consideration. This does not require a vote, so it's informational only, just pulling it up now. We've drafted the FY24 budget schedule shown on the screen. It will commence next week with the release of the budget memo to the departments, followed in February with department budgets due to the commissioner's office with reviews by the commissioners through late February to early March. Pursuant to general law, we will follow then our hearing notice process starting early March. We'll be hoping to bundle our operating budget cycle with capital for FY24. The middle part of March will feature the department budget with commissioners, and then obviously the public hearing notice with this board will be put out on March 22nd. Following the public hearing process by the end of March, we'll be looking at a commissioner's vote on this budget, and perhaps also the capital budget. In early April, that will be the 12th There will be a joint finance committee advisory board hearing on the FY 24 budget with a vote following that meeting on May 17th. The finance committee advisory board will meet and vote on this budget, including capital. So it's a very similar process and timeline to what we've all seen in the past. These particular dates are subject to change by the commissioners. Any member of this body feels that we need to let us know of any conflicts or problems, let us know. But the April and May dates are consistent with the advisory board chairman's dates for meeting in FY 23. So we're hoping to work around that. But that is our proposed schedule. Again, no vote needed, but it's informational. I do see some hands. So.
Next, we have a meeting at the Walls Recreation Facility in May.
Mr. Ryan is duly recognized. Having said that, we'll put you down. That's part of a comment they'll have later. Is there any questions of the director with regards to the time? No. For the members' knowledge, the finance committee will be coordinating combined meetings with the commissioners to hear the presentations from the department heads as we have in the past couple of years. This board has made some huge movement toward improving the way that IT is managed in accounting. The board has sent a tremendous message about how we can better serve the residents of Norfolk County through these efforts. One of the considerations in this was that there be periodic updates as to the progress in that endeavor. And this will be an opportunity, and I'm going to recognize the director to do it, to introduce the CIO, Sam Evans, and hear a report from him as to what has transpired since he came on board and the direction of IT as. So, Director, if you'd like to introduce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to bring forth Sam Evans, who's the county's Chief Information Officer. Sam came to us in November from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts after an extensive interview process. Sam has, to say the least, dived right into the task and challenge at hand. He sits full-time at the Registry of Deeds with his staff. One member of his staff still remains at the Registry of the Commissioner's office. Sam's a tremendous asset, and I think in a period of time, this board, the county will see the benefits of the consolidation. He's going to speak to you tonight a little bit about what's been going on in terms of his progress since it's arrived and what's lying ahead. So brief 10-slide deck for your information, an opportunity to meet Sam and ask any questions.
Thank you, Director. Sorry for the mask. My son's gifted me with a bad cold for the holidays. So I put myself over here since I'm going to present from the podium. Sure where to say. Okay. So I always like to start out IT presentations with a reminder to everyone what IT is about. Since we sit in the back usually or off and you don't see us and you wonder what we're doing, we're not back there programming some new IPO to make ourselves rich. We're really out, as the quote says, to enable what the enterprise, or in our case, the county, is doing for its business operations, which, as hopefully you know, is to serve the citizens of Norfolk County and you towns and communities. So what we'll cover quickly is the progress that we've made, as the director noted, and what we're working on that will come next. So the director just referenced this as a graphical form. We are fully staffed now. There are 5 of us. You can see in my little presentation graphics there that there are 4 of us, including a temp that we have sitting in the Registry of Deeds building. And we have
students, please. And ask if there are conversations you will take outside the room, please.
Sorry. No problem. Thank you. We have, as Director Cronin said, we've got Mark McDonald sitting over in the Commissioner's building, and the rest of us sit at the Registry of Deeds, but everybody reports to me. And what we're trying to let people know, and it'll be a small cultural change, is Mark McDonald has been working for the commission, for the county for 18 years, I think. So people over there are used to anytime there's a problem, they just pick up the phone or they go put their head in Mark's office, say, Mark, I need help with this. The same side of the Registry of Deeds building. Dan Camerata has been there for 9 years, so people are used to seeing Dan. But we just hired Gal Spray, who's a network admin. He's got a huge amount of experience, and we're trying to get people into the habit of just poke your head back there. Any of us can help you. You're going to see in another set of slides that we've got, excuse me, some other ways to get people out of that habit, because we can all help. So it's trying to get people the help they need as fast as they can get it, but we're now fully staffed. Here's some of the consolidation work we've been doing. We're fixing up our networks by getting better switches and faster wiring. And that's one of the things that the director showed you in the supplemental budget. We need a little more money to make that happen. I don't want to get overly technical. Active Directory is the way that all the people in the buildings and everywhere else get to work together, share files, all that kind of stuff. We're looking at whether it's an advantage or not to combine the Active Directory at the county with the Active Directory at the registry. We have one opinion on that. From one place, we're getting another opinion. Either way, we have to upgrade the software of the Active Directory servers so that we will be more hardened against any malicious actors or hackers. There's some money in there for that as well that you saw in the supplemental budget. Excuse me. We have most of the county already on Office 365 for email, which was changed earlier this year. And the registry is on an older email system. We're evaluating whether or not we can get the people at the registry who are using that smarter mail system over to Office 365. That gives them better email, faster email. They can look at it on their cell phones if they want, and it lets them use integrated shared calendars, so it should be more efficient. I don't know if anyone has mentioned to you here about the Tyler Employee Access Portal, which the county owns and is planning to roll out. This is a way for employees, I'm sure you've run into this in your own jobs, to look at their W-2 information, to look at their pay stubs, to get all kinds of other stuff. So we're preparing now a readiness checklist to figure out what needs to be done to get it out, and then we're going to do a rollout plan. And that's going to go out countywide. Oh, I forgot to explain, all those little oblong things to the side is where the effort affects. So this one, the Tyler Employee Access Portal, is going to go out countywide. The Tyler budgeting software, which is also in use countywide, there are some improvements that Director Cronin and others have said would make it easier for everyone to use it. So we're working with the Tyler folks themselves and an independent consultant to make it easier to use. And the director has mentioned to us it would be nice if he could send an email that goes to the folks at the Commissioner's office, the Treasurer's office, the registry, the folks here at the agricultural high school, the folks at the golf course. Everyone's got different emails. And there are some people at the registry who don't even have an email. So you'd like to be able to get to all those people in a single email, for instance, to say, hey, we're rolling out the Tyler Employee Access Portal. So we're working on that. And when you set something like that up, you have to make sure that it's restricted so that not everybody can get to that. The famous story is a person who was sending a mail to her friend Allison, and she just typed in all and then hit enter. And instead of going to Allison, her exploits of the weekend went to everybody at the company. So they locked that down as well. Continue with the consolidation tasks. We have many different pieces of software and licenses and all kinds of different equipment, PCs, servers, laptops at the registry, excuse me, at the Commissioner's office, at the golf course. So we're looking at all the different things that are there, starting with the admin building, the registry, taking a look to see if we can get rid of duplicate stuff and find cost savings. One of the big things for me is that I want to know when someone's called and asked for help, but we don't want that to get in the way of customer service. Like I mentioned, someone calls Dan. It's okay for Dan to handle that, but if Dan's busy, we want him to be able to write it down quickly and get someone else to take care of it. So we've got an existing piece of software called Track It that has a front end so that Dan can say, okay, hang on, I can't help you, but somebody else will. He'll get that taken care of and then he'll put it down in the system. The other thing that lets us do is if we find out, we'll do a report later in the week and we find out this printer has been messing up for the last 2-3 months, then we know we got to work on the printer. The other thing that does that this software was actually designed to do is to track all of the laptops and all the software and all the printers and all the switches and all that stuff. And that allows us to do the same thing. Allows us to know when something needs to be replaced and when it's causing trouble. And we're going to move that thing into the cloud eventually, which then allows us to look at it from our phones. So as we're moving around, we can take care of that stuff. The next thing is to get the golf course folks into the same network as we use in Dedham. And that gives them more protection. Not that anybody's really looking to threaten a golf course, but it always helps to make people safe. And it will improve the speed and the wiring and the stuff that they have over there too. So that when we go there for our next meeting, there'll be a good computer experience over there as well. And then the school here operates pretty much independently. They've got different software needs, but there is some opportunities for us to share resources and see if we can get some cost savings as well. So a little further down the road, we'll do that same analysis of software and other things and see if we can save some time and money. Here's some stuff I'm sure you've seen before. So from the Ripples report, they asked us to do some cybersecurity improvements. And we are now getting, in addition to that third one there, the penetration test that was done and all of the changes that were made there. Mr. Eichel. We're going to do another penetration test later in the year. We're also getting now regular cybersecurity reports from a government agency called CISA, and we take a look at those and fix up any vulnerabilities we might have. We've improved our malware virus detection software, and are expanding it. And we also have signed up this year at the registry, and it's a continuing thing at on the county side. The state has a cybersecurity training program that runs for the whole year. It's free. And one of the things that they do, which is very cool, is they have fake phishing emails. So they send them out, and if somebody falls for it, they let you know, and then it's your choice on how to, what you're going to do with that information. You go tell the person, you're not doing it yet.
I ask the members, please, in consideration of the CIO, if you are going to speak, please take it out in the hallway. This is very difficult to manage the hybrid and the sound carries. So please, if you could offer that opportunity to take it outside of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we're the county did this program this year, and we're going to expand it over to the registry this year as well, because it's a good program and it's free. Runs the whole year. They have different classes that they offer 4 times a year, and the phishing goes all year. So it keeps people aware, since phishing is one of the biggest way that networks get infiltrated. The IT support. So I mentioned that we have all full staff now. What we did so that people can reach all of us is we have a central phone number and a central email, so you don't have to call Dan directly. You don't have to call Mark directly. You can just call this one phone number. It rings all of our desks. You can send an email and it reaches all of us. And we're going to be a slow cultural change to get people to use those, but that's available and we're publicizing it. I already talked about how we're fully staffed. We're doing cross training as well. So, and that goes to the last bullet in this subsection as well. We're trying to eliminate single points of failure. So the Brown Tech system, which runs the registry's business, is based on some proprietary technology and is old. It's not old now. It's IBM backend. It's not IBM mainframes that some of you might remember, but it's a newer version of it. But like Dan is the only guy who really knows it well. So he's been cross-training us on how to solve some basic problems in there, but we need more training. So he's doing that. Mark does the email system, is cross-training on that. So we're identifying big systems and we're getting people cross-trained so we eliminate the single points of failure. We also have weekly meetings with the senior registry staff so they know what's going on. And the big one on the bottom, policies. So there are policies that are written and in place at the registry, and there are different policies that are written and in place in the county. We're going to consolidate them. We're going to fill in the gaps. And that first bullet there, I don't know if you've heard this before, was a written information security policy. So this was passed by Governor Patrick a number of years ago and amended by Governor Baker recently. So if you deal with anyone in Massachusetts and you have any of their personal information and you get breached and you don't have a WISP, you're immediately in trouble. So we, the county and the registry, don't really have this information yet, although we will possibly be publicizing soon with our employee access portal. So the first thing you do is you put a WISP together. So we have one that's 75% of the way there. We're gonna fix it up, and it also binds together all of our policies. So that's on tap for full draft policy by the end of the month. And then when the lawyers come for us, we should have a first line of defense, if anything happens. This term cloudiness is also from Rebels. It means how much are you using the cloud. So we have it in place for certain things. We have a network monitoring tool that we use to make sure that everything's okay. We're going to move that in the cloud as soon as we can. One of the things that was in the Rebels report talking about Ground Tech is that Ground Tech doesn't use cloud backup, so why aren't we? I'm not sure that that's the best way to go. The registry has massive amounts of documents that if we put them in the cloud will cost a huge amount of money. We are backing up all that data in several different ways already. So the reason that it says examining hybrid backup options is lots of companies do this. They use the cloud where it's advantageous and makes sense cost-wise. And then they use traditional backup methods like we do for tapes and other things for other ways. So we're looking at all kinds of different things, using the cloud where it's helpful, where it's not. And then just the last example, we have the door access system at the commissioner's building that's in the cloud, and in the older buildings it's not. So we're looking to see if it makes sense to move everything to the cloud. The wireless network that's mentioned in the Rebels report was because they said visitors come into the registry building, and when people come in the building nowadays, they expect a wireless network. Well, not many people come into the registry building anymore because most of the business is done online. And also, I don't know how many of you have an unlimited data access plan on your phones, but most people have that now too. So what we're doing is we're doing a good pros and cons list, and then we'll work with the registrar and the senior staff to figure out whether that makes sense. We're going to talk a little bit more about the strategic plan in a couple of slides, so I won't talk too much more here. But what we do with the strategic plan is we make sure that it makes sense to the people who the technology will affect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the documentation that we have to have in case anybody needs to know what's up is it covers the servers, the licenses, the vendors, what the networks look like, an uninterruptible power supply, so if the power goes down and everything stay up, we're going to map all that out. A lot of it's in place already. I'd say we're about 85% of the way there. We're going to have it in place across all parts of the county. Here's what's next. So a part of the Rebels report talked very clearly about the importance of communication, especially across the county and the registry and other parts of the county operations. And the point of it was to have a documented charter about how communication, especially about technology cooperation, you had to have it written down so that everybody understood what the roles were going to be and how communication was going to work. There's a proposed mediation between the county and the registry of deeds. So what we're planning to do is we'll see how what comes out of that mediation and what happens after it, and then we'll write our charter based on that mediation and the impact. The strategic plan, and there's a few things I just want to touch on briefly. I can make you a strategic plan right now, and I can tell you about the next generation of quantum computing and how we're going to have that in place in 5 years, and I'm going to have high-tech scanners and do all this stuff, but it doesn't mean anything to you if I don't talk to the register and the director and the rest of the people around to figure out what are you trying to do for the county in 5 years? What does it mean to the towns in 5 years? What do they need from the county? So the point of these bullets here are to say you can't do a strategic plan without input from your people you're serving. And you have to have buy-in from them and input from them. So we're going to, the first point of the developing the strategic plan is to do the input and the buy-in. What we're trying to get to, the second to last bullet there, is this acronym that I love, PQRS: performance, quality, reliability, and scalability. So we'll get our IT department to those 4 things so that we're just not sitting in the back surprised by everything. And the last one, design from the future backwards. So when Director Carter tells me in 5 years I want the county lean and nimble, and I want to be able to, call up this one dashboard that tells me everything that's going on, and we figure out we need to be here, and then we fill in the gap, as opposed to saying, well, we can't get there without these 55 things. So going in again off of how we can't do a strategic plan until we know what people need. We're going to work very closely with the registry of deeds and the register and his staff to figure out what their most important operational technological needs are. not just now, but 5 years from now, and we'll work from there. I'm going to talk to the Secretary of State folks and the Executive Office of Technology Services and the last is, it's whatever, the technology people at the state, and to determine common technological and budget trends. I'm going to meet with the Brown Tech owners to figure out what their succession staffing plan is, because there's the developer and his primary assistant, and we need to know where they're going in 5 years. We're going to enroll our IT staff in the IBM software training so that they can really understand what's going on. And we're going to continue to improve our cybersecurity. As some of you may know, ransomware is getting worse and worse. Last year, we had just as many attacks on communities/municipalities and schools as we did the year before. And what did change, though, is that more data was sucked out of communities and stuff. So we're looking actively right now into ransomware protection software, and there's plenty of other places we can improve it. I talked a little bit about asset tracking, so we're going to look at that. I'm going to meet with county CIOs. We're going to keep training our staff, but also our employees. So if you help your employees understand more about what to do when the computer goes down and the printer's not working, it helps them feel more empowered, and it helps take the burden off your staff. We have good websites, but they can be better. So we're going to help support and expand the website offerings. And this is a strange one, but a good one. I need to get more familiar with what the vendor landscapes are for what we offer, what our vendors offer us, so that if something breaks or we need to buy something new, instead of taking 2 or 3 days to figure it out, I will be able to answer that quickly. And that's it. Thank you for listening to me at such a late time of the night, especially with an Italian dinner in your bellies.
Any questions of the CIO?
It's a pleasure to be able to serve.
Any questions? Sam, I do have one question. You mentioned that there were people at the registry who don't have email, and it's that they don't use it or they don't have it, because that seems odd.
It's a good question, Mr. Chairman. I don't know the full reason behind it. There's a set of folks at the registry whose functions don't involve interacting with anyone outside of the registry. So most of the documents at the registry are filed electronically. So stuff comes in, they just work on what they get. If they deal with people in other staff inside of the registry, but they don't have email set up. They don't have internet access, they don't have email. So it's actually, in one sense, it's a good thing. It's a protective measure. But it was weird for me as well to think that people don't have email. There's no call for it in their job function, so they don't have it.
Mr. Buckley, are there any questions?
I thought it was great, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Again, any other questions? Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Buckley, could please just walk us through the question on weights and measures.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I know I was brief as we are past the hour of 9 o'clock, and the gentleman from Milton ordered me to move at a rapid pace and discuss this new and exciting county regional service, weights and measures. I am, of course, the county expert on weight and measurements. Norfolk County's newest regional service, it is the Department of ensures fairness in the marketplace. So every time you go to the supermarket, every time you go to Patal Deli in Stoughton, or get the best chicken salad at D&G Deli in the Commonwealth, there is a little seal there. And the sealer of weights and measures does that. They inspect every weight device, give peddler and hawker licenses and the like, and they work with the state's Division of Standards. We've been working with that. As you can see in the explanation here, the types of inspections which are performed, everything from gas station pumps to price scanners. They actually walk through the supermarket and they take 100
items at a time and make sure that the price on the shelf is the same as the price that is scanned at the register, as well as making sure that a mile is a mile on a taxi cab. So that is what this department does in a municipality. How does this specific need arise, and why are we talking about this on this very warm evening at the Norfolk County Agricultural High School? The Division of Standards stopped acting as a vendor for a number of communities who were using the state to do their inspections for them. Every community has to have their own inspector. If you're small enough, like Avon, the state will act as a vendor to do the inspections for you, but they have pulled away from a number of mid-sized communities within the center of the county. And at a recent Norfolk County Managers Association meeting a few months ago, they talked about this being an emergent regional need that collaboration could be effectuated around. And as I was sitting there, well, the county is the regional governmental entity. Could it perhaps assist us? And we thought this was a good way to expand our regional footprint. How is our proposed? I just want to also point out very clearly, there's no need for a vote tonight, but you have gratefully given me $99,000 in capital expenditure. So how is this program organized? The county is proposing to join through intermunicipal agreement with communities. Will hire an individual to perform the needed inspectional services. The communities will pay a fee that approximates the cost charged by the Commonwealth or their vendor, and the community will retain the fees charged to retailers, as similar to the previous process with the Commonwealth. Why is this beneficial? Because the communities receive professional inspectional services and all that administrative time of worrying if an individual who's the vendor is leaving, retiring, can't be reached, a contract can't be effectuated, is taken away from them. Why is this beneficial to the county? It fulfills our core function to serve our towns. It provides proof of concept for future endeavors through other intermunicipal agreements. And as I was talking to Principal Van Rotz as this evening, it also creates a possible vocational pipeline for students at this school. So that is good for all of us, I think. Which communities are currently involved? Currently Franklin, Needham, Renton signed letters of interest to begin with us on July 1st, 2023. And Westwood's vendor contract ends in 2023, and they are in talks to join with us in mid-2024. This program is built to grow. It's inherently scalable. We know the number of communities have service contracts with individual vendors that have been sunsetting and have acutely been in dialogue with about a half a dozen. A number of people's inspectors are close to retirement and will be looking to join us. Initial capital expenditure budget, we articulated $99,000 was appropriated, 45 for a vehicle, 54 for equipment. And we're examining donated equipment. The community of Needham was kind enough. They had service equipment from their previous program, and we are working with the Division of Standards right now to see if some of their equipment can be utilized by us, so that we don't have to expend it. One of the big things is what's called a 100-gallon prover. It's this big trailer that you stick on the back of a Ford F-250. It pulls up to a gas station instead of looking for 10 gallons at a time or 5 gallons at a time to see if that's the correct weight. They do it at 100 gallons a time, and it creates a great deal of expediency. So Needham is working with us, and I just want to point out that we've had a wonderful partnership with the Division of Standards itself. They want us to succeed. They would love to see a professionalized county-run service in the center of Norfolk County. And they're also interested in perhaps recruiting some Aggie alumni to work for them at the state level. So program timeline, we're looking at beginning in February of 2023 for drafting negotiating intermunicipal agreements with the communities. By March, recruiting efforts will begin. An evaluation of whether or not to hire FTEs or service contract employees. By April, we'll finalize a capital budget. We will be up and running by July 1st. That is my quick, warm explanation of regional weights and measures.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, so Ryan.
So Patty thinks that Norfolk County's, one of the things Norfolk County provides is regionalization of services. And if there's a need by cities and towns in Norfolk County for this type of service, that's appropriate. Another party is looking at, it says FTE, that's full-time equivalents.
That's correct.
So part of me is, like, you know, I would like to see, my opinion, that you should be very measured how you proceed with this, and not go out and hire a bunch of full-time people to do this job, and then not have the market for it. So it's like, it would be good if we would maybe have part-time people doing it, on the commissioners mentioned to me. Maybe, you know, look at it that way, instead of maybe it's a job that people like want to add to our retirement system, and maybe try to do it in a way that's cost effective, and not taking a lot of, you know, possible things we don't want to take on, you know, like full-time jobs that don't have work to do, doesn't pan out. So I do it in a very measured way.
Through Mr. Chair, to the gentleman from Breaker's question, which is well taken, I think. One of the discussions I've had directly with the director of standards for the Commonwealth is to look at exactly how many inspections need to be done in these communities. And we want to build a program that is scalable, but we also, to your point, nobody's going to be sitting in a truck all day. It'll be a truck with a tracker on it. And if we will be looking for staff to directly meet the inspectional needs, we know pretty solidly how long it takes to inspect a gas station and how many gas stations will be in this program. So I think the possibility of a vendor option, to your point, that was articulated by a couple of commissioners about somebody who perhaps may be retired and looking to work with us for a few years, under 20 hours, not triggering benefits. Those are considerations I think we're very cognizant of, and the fact that the cost for this will be in some part is offset by fees charged to the towns.
It should pay for itself.
Yes.
Mr. Christie, and then Mr.
I'd say from Stoughton, because we're working on this now. Concerns, but we're on the flip side, because we were thinking of having our engineering team, health and services to handle that. But they've already got in money for a pickup truck. We don't have spec trucks, so we talked, you know, they were kind of just totally overbuilt. If this is done the right way, working with inspection services, I think it's going to be a benefit. So I would say get me some paperwork now, so Stoughton can look at signing up pretty quickly, because we've got to get it done. And unfortunately, a couple of the employees that are being considered for this are looking at it as a big job. Really not a big job, but scheduled out accordingly. And with, you know, the increase that we have in building permits and application for inspection, it's gonna really charge our so if we can go with something like this and we're paying what we pay normally, but keep it here and somebody specializes in that, that's better than having a part-time person to try to manage it. The other things. So perfect timing for us. Just fire me up.
Absolutely.
All the work I need, give me a little more background, definitely some cost, and I'll get you a count of how many stops we have.
Excellent. Anybody else want to sign up while we're here?
I know John Conley from Canton, Mr. Buckley, Mr. Chairman. We had a hell of a time, because after a certain, as we all know, after a certain period, the state always supplies the weight measure. And over 24,000, I think it is, you're on your own. We couldn't find anybody. We had a hell of a heck of a time, finding somebody. So I applaud you looking into this and providing service for the towns and cities in the Norfolk County.
Excellent. So through Mr. Chair, perhaps a meeting at the spa between Canton, Stoughton and Norfolk County.
I'll host, you say it.
Excellent. Anybody else want
I
to?
just want to make sure that you check a 16-ounce beer is really a 16-ounce beer.
You and I will be in charge of that solely.
This is a totally out of my strike zone, but I'm trying to understand on slide 6. What I'm picturing here for how this works is that if the town signs up, there's some number of inspection sites that are required. You'll have some algorithm to figure out what the work is. That will translate into a fee that the town would pay this program for that coverage. But I'm picturing something like that.
Right. The benefit is for many of the communities that have had the state move away from doing that inspection. The state's pretty good at this and they have a pretty just fee. And so we're seeking to attempt to match that.
So then the former warrant committee member in me now looks at the bottom bullet there that says, "In communities retain the fees charged to the retailers." So will this program charge the retailers fees and then send it back?
That's a
curious about how economic-
that's a strong question, and that was actually raised by Commissioner Stady earlier this afternoon at the commissioners meeting. As the Commonwealth does it now, if you go into Blue Moon in Medfield and there's a scale there, the sealer will charge Blue Moon $15 or $5 to look at that scale. They will hand them a bill for, even if this was someone working for the Commonwealth, they'll hand them a bill to be paid to the treasurer collector of the town of Medway. So it's the same. So the benefit here is you're taking out the need for any sort of staff people to chase. And generally speaking, from my discussions, about 98%, we're talking about Stop and Shops, Shaws. They don't play around with fees of this nature. So it's between the retailer and the town clerk and accountant. But again, when you're looking at a town's bottom line, they're paying a fee and they're getting some of that money back. So it's beginning to be a wash for them. So I hate to use the term win-win, but it's pretty close. And to your point about algorithms, I have been working with the chief information officer. There's a product called WinWham. It's much like Brown Tech, kind of a one-stop shop for this type of work technologically. The Commonwealth is moving towards utilizing it, and we're hopefully going to be on the forefront with that. But a couple of years from now, this will be surprisingly high tech. We're putting 50-pound weights on scales. This will be big brother.
Any other questions? Is there anyone on Zoom?
That's all look like it, sorry.
The next item on the agenda is with regard to executive session minutes. The executive session having been concluded, hearing no objection to the tabling this, I think that would be the best option to table this to our next executive session. Okay, no objection.
Through you, Mr. Chair, executive session minutes can be approved in open session and voted to not be released until the matter is resolved. I would also point out that I will correct my two different spellings of council within the page and a half of our executive session minutes. And also on the next minutes, note that the gentleman from Westwood was present with us last time.
Okay, so if the body wishes to consider the executive session minutes and embargo for release, that is a motion that I would accept.
So moved.
So moved, Braintree, second, Brooklyn.
Yes, second.
Mr. Beckerman?
Yes, sir.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Okay, Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree. Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough. Franklin.
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield.
Saying that
Medway. Millis. Milton.
Abstain was not at the meeting.
Needham.
Aye.
Norfolk.
Abstain.
Norwood. Norwood.
Ellen?
Looking for.
Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph. Randolph.
Not present.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole.
Yes.
Wellesley.
Yes.
Westwood. Weymouth. Rentham.
Abstain.
Could you just give me the abstentions again?
Medfield was one.
Medfield, Milton, Norfolk, Rentham, others,
Medfield, Milton abstains,
correct?
Norfolk. And do we have any others? Medfield, Milton, Norfolk,
Rantham.
and Rentham.
And Westwood is here as well. Sorry, I got bumped out.
Right, hold on, bear with me.
Mr. Wallace, did you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. abstained. I have 80.97 and 8.05 abstaining, but that yes number is not exact. I just have to do the math, but the motion passes.
Okay, then we can reflect that in the minutes next time. Next item in the minutes of the regular session of the meeting held September 14, 2022. Before I ask for a motion, I do want to thank Dr. Childs for chairing the meeting. I was at a health issue and was unable to attend, so I really appreciate that, Beth. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve these minutes? So moved. Brookline. There was
Second.
Record the second, whoever you heard first, Phil. Phil, are you ready? That's Mr. Beckman to call the roll.
Yes.
Okay, made and seconded, no further discussion.
Okay. Avon votes aye. Bellingham. Braintree.
Aye.
Brookline.
Aye.
Canton.
Yes.
Cohasset. Dedham.
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Holbrook. Midfield.
Abstain, Ms. Evans.
Medway. Millis. Milton.
Abstain.
Needham.
Aye.
Norfolk.
Abstain.
Norwood. Plainville.
Yes.
Quincy.
Yes.
Randolph. Randolph.
Not present.
Sharon. Stoughton.
Yes.
Walpole. Wellesley.
Yes.
Westwood.
Yes.
Weymouth. Rentham.
Abstain.
All right, we have 76.99 in favor. So it passes.
All right, thank you. Very quickly, my appreciation to everyone. This has been 2.5, almost 3 hours, and it's appreciated. What I will say is my recollection of meetings years ago over in the corner, they wrapped up quickly. I will have to say over the past 3 budget cycles in particular, this advisory board has done tremendous work in changing Norfolk County for the better. And I want to thank everyone for that. It's be continued support moving forward. Press your indulgence as we get through a couple of different things, because there have been some obstacles. We've overcome those obstacles. We'll move forward. I want to recognize Carl Baldup, who served on the Finance Committee for I don't know how many years, Carl. Quite a few. I don't know if that's an actual number, but it's a lot. Thank you for all you've done. And I want to recognize the newest member of the Finance Committee, Barbara Searle of Wellesley. The Finance Committee now has 5 members, so they'll know. There are a couple of items that I will address at a further time, given the fact that we've been together for 3 hours. If there is nothing further that anyone wishes to bring to the attention of this body, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was
Second.
Second, okay. Unfortunately, we do have to call the roll for this last time. Mr. Iantoski, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, Mr. Beckman, and before we go through the roll, I do want to thank you, Phil. I know you're not feeling 100%, and you're getting through this and getting the numbers right, and I hope that we can get this done quickly and you can go to bed.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the motion to adjourn, Avon, aye. Bellingham. Braintree,
Aye.
Brookline,
Aye.
Canton,
No, no, yes.
Cohasset. Dedham,
Yes.
Dover. Foxborough. Franklin,
Yes.
Holbrook. Medfield,
Yes.
Medway. Millis. Milton,
Yes.
Needham,
Yes.
Norfolk,
Yes.
Norwood. Plainville,
Yes.
Quincy,
Yes.
Randolph. Sharon. Stoughton,
Yes.
Walpole,
Yes.
Wellesley,
Yes.
Westwood,
Yes.
Weymouth, Wentham.
Aye. 85.32.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Be in touch soon.
Everyone.
That was a marathon.
Hey, next one.
Yeah, they don't have to lie.